This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it. And he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown. Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again. Rumbling towards the end zone. And the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's going to take him. For the touchdown.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome in to 365 Sports. It's Friday. That means, well, we're already underway in football, but that means Saturday. It's just a day away. We've got a couple of games tonight. We had one game last night. We'll talk about that in a second. A couple of things to talk about in the administrative thing. Some interesting comments from the USC AD today. Some of them on their future non-conference scheduling, and some of them, Craig, on how they feel about Big Ten Enterprises, which if I was running Big Ten Enterprises, I would not feel like she just wrote me a love letter.
Yeah, I mean, the story has been swirling out there about the Big Ten and the pursuit of private equity. I hope I'm getting that term right because I know somebody like, no, it's actually private capital. Yeah, like whatever. It's to me all
money not from a football source.
Right. Whatever the hell it is. Yeah, that's been out there for quite a while now, and there's plenty of pushback on it because people feel like that's a step too far, even though we've taken a lot of steps here recently in college sports and college football in particular. And the Big Ten is just continuing to move forward with this thing from all indications. But there were the reports that came out that USC and Michigan in particular were not in line with this and not totally on board. And then when that broke, then there was a talk that, well, even despite them, the Big Ten might move forward anyways, and here's what that would look like. And so, yeah, it's been kind of a back and forth. But, yeah, Jen I keep wanting to say Psaki, but Jen Cohen. Yeah. Jen Psaki's in the White House, or was, right? Yeah. I don't know why that name kept popping in my head.
She's on MSNBC.
Okay, yeah. So I guess that's where I keep having that pop up in my head. But, yeah, she's now weighed in on it, and I don't have the exact quote, but there you go. Intentionally making our road to the CFP. This is on future non-con scheduling, not on the Big Ten thing, but we'll go ahead and I guess talk about this here. On future non-con scheduling, intentionally making our road to the CFP significantly more difficult than our Big Ten peers does not align with our goal to win championships. That said, we want to play meaningful games, and we recognize USC's unique position in college football history. So, thoughts on that in particular?
I think that means that, yeah, we'll try to schedule Notre Dame, but don't expect us to really take big swings on this, on this power opponent outside of that. Like, I think that, Notre Dame wants the game, Notre Dame wants the game at night, right? Notre Dame wants the game late in the year. They want it early in the year because they don't want it to affect it. My position on that is, who cares? Just do it late one year, do it early the next year, and everybody gets what they want on a rotating basis.
I think the people that care are USC and Notre Dame fans, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, those are the people that matter, and those are the people that care. But, yeah, I mean, she said that USC is the only team in the Big Ten, or has said that the only team in the Big Ten to play a non-con road game after week 4 in either of the past 2 seasons. And it gets into the strategic scheduling and things like that. Our non-conference scheduling decisions will be based on feedback from stakeholders across the Trojan family, deliberation with Coach Riley, my trusted staff, and university leadership, and the experience and perspective I've gathered from 3 decades of experience in college athletics. So she goes on to say, our 3 non-conference games each year, we will schedule at least one Power 4 opponent. If that opponent is a rival with whom we share a long and storied tradition, all the better. And, yeah, I hadn't really fleshed out much on the scheduling part of things. I was more thinking about the Big Ten and the capital deal. But yeah, the non-con scheduling is obviously an issue. The Notre Dame series is obviously something that I think they, are interested in maintaining, and we'll see kind of how all that goes for Jen Cohen and for USC. But this is a part of the State of Troy newsletter, to be clear, that she sent out, and a lot of talk in there, but including on the Big Ten and Big Ten enterprises. And so that's where I was going to the beginning, and that's where she said in recent weeks there's been much reporting around USC's position regarding an investment deal proposed by the Big Ten. This deal proposes to create a new commercial entity, Big Ten Enterprises, supporting the conference, extend members' grant of rights an additional 10 years to 2046, and provide 10% equity in Big Ten Enterprises to an investor for $2.4 billion, which will be unevenly distributed to members and create a tiered revenue. She said, as we continue to evaluate the merits of the proposal, our university leadership remains aligned in our stance that our fiduciary obligation is to the University of Southern California and demands we thoroughly evaluate any deals that could impact our long-term value. And the key important part here is she goes on to say, we greatly value our membership in the Big Ten Conference and understand and respect the larger landscape, but we also recognize the power of the USC brand is far-reaching, deeply engaging, and incredibly valuable, and we will always fight first for what's best for USC. So that's the thing that I was like, oh, interesting, because a lot of the talk is about the possibility of, well, what would happen if Michigan or USC didn't agree to this? What would that look like? And the Big Ten almost pushing past them even when they're saying, like, hey, hold on a second. The Big Ten's like, nope, we're doing it anyways. And the kind of tension that it can create. And you go, well, what are they going to do about it? Well, they can do a lot of things about it. They could go join the damn SEC if they wanted to. Like, they could go independent if they wanted to. They could go create a little conclave with Notre Dame and a smattering of other schools if they wanted to. Like, there are options for USC and Michigan. There aren't options for Purdue and TCU necessarily. If they were to try to pull something like this, the conference would be like, psh, see ya, and just move on along and probably not feel all that worse for it. Sorry for you guys catching strays, but just you're not USC or Michigan, and most people aren't. But for USC and Michigan, like, you're not going to bully them.
No.
And I think they've made it clear that it doesn't matter how long we've been in this conference. In the case of Michigan, obviously USC, it's been 2 years, but Michigan also kind of indicating that, like, yeah, we value this, but like, this isn't the end all be all. And like, we're not going to die if you cut us off. Like, we have things that we can pivot to and keep calling our bluff, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think the Big Ten's in a position of power here. And I think they're kind of overplaying their hand. And I think Tony Petitti is kind of trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, so to speak. And I guess it's just the need for money from others that they really desperately do need this injection of cash. But for USC and Michigan, they're not as desperate. They don't need this as badly as the others do. And so they're saying, like, hold on a second. And this is leading to not something that's necessarily going to create a huge fracture, but I do think you're starting to see some cracks develop, and you keep calling their bluff. And, dude, I don't think the Big Ten's the one that's going to have the winning hand when all is said and done. So just a very interesting story that keeps on developing over the course of the last few days, and now we're getting both sides kind of talking about it. You're getting Jen Cohen from USC talking about it and basically saying, like, hey, we value this, but we're going to do what's best for USC, and that's what she should say because she's in charge of USC. She's not in charge of maintaining the Big Ten status quo or ensuring that they're ahead of the SEC when the money gets counted at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I never thought I would long for the days of curmudgeonly Jim Delaney and him standing in the way of any kind of a playoff. But at least he was a person who understood that college athletics is a different thing. And I think somebody like that who understands that it's a different thing, even though there are things that have moved it more towards a professional model, that it is still a different thing and that it cannot be a cash grab for cash grab's sake. Because that's what private capital and private equity is, at least in the form that Big Ten Enterprises is trying to become. It's a cash grab for cash grab's sake because they have long spent money they didn't have because they didn't have to pay the players. Now, in the last few years, they have to pay the players, and they're already overextended on facilities and everything else. So they're trying to catch up where they're behind. And when you are playing catch up, I mean, it kind of sounds like the other, 15 or 16 teams in the Big Ten have gambling debts, and they're trying to be like, look, I can get all clear of this if we just take this money from this other source. And USC and Michigan are basically saying, well, we understand that that's your problem, but you're not going to make us make a decision that compromises our mission as a school or our mission as an athletic department that we don't think is right. And I really applaud USC and Michigan for, in an era of we don't care where the money's from, just that it's real money, that they're saying, like, well, I don't know if we've really done our due diligence on all this across the conference, and there's probably better ways to do this than getting involved in this money from the California pension fund that they're doing. And so USC being able to stand up and say that, and Michigan being able to stand up and say that, a private school and a public institution, by the way. So it's two different things. So it's not two big public schools. It's a large private school, no doubt, in USC as private schools go, and it's one of the largest public institutions saying these things. That's a big deal to me, and that's a big deal in their fight against this money that they don't feel that they need, and maybe saying, like, look, your bad financial decisions are your bad financial decisions, but don't treat us like we're just anybody, especially when it comes to Michigan. And I'm not trying to discount USC here, but the most valuable thing that the Big Ten owns outright is the Ohio State-Michigan game at the end of the year. That game probably won't go away if Michigan leaves the conference, but half of your money would on Michigan. And so all the things that are Ohio State, Michigan go half away if you're gone. So they have a lot of leverage. They have a lot of say and a lot of power. And because all these schools are so different, that makes it really interesting to see where it's going to go, Craig. But ultimately, I am very impressed by Michigan and USC for saying, like, pump your brakes. Like, we need to have some real agency here. And this is not, we're just doing it because all the rest of you 16 are desperate for money.
Yeah, and just want to say, what's up to chat? Shout out to you guys. Hope everybody's having a good Friday. We just dive right in here. We're going to talk about some games and get into all that as well, but it was interesting to see these comments in this USC newsletter. In the scheduling part, like, I think everybody would like them to continue to play USC and Notre Dame, and I didn't really dive too far into that talk. I know there's some pushback on her basically saying, like, we're going to have like a tough schedule. We're not going to intentionally make it tougher. Like, I don't really care so much about any of that. And I don't even really know where exactly she was going with that, other than they're not going to obviously try to like play Notre Dame and force that if it's going to make it harder to make the playoff for them, even though everybody would like for them to play Notre Dame and USC every year. And I think that goes for both sides, but you could take that as like kind of a cowardly quote, like, oh, we're not going to make it tougher on ourselves. But you can also take it as like, yeah, well, why would you do that? It kind of depends on what side of the fence you're looking on when it comes to our scheduling. But that part about the Big Ten equity deal, though, I think that involves everybody, and everybody can kind of see the straight and narrow there on, yeah, USC and Michigan aren't jiving with that right now, and the Big Ten's seemingly moving forward regardless. And it's really interesting. I see, like, I guess you'd call them like a Big Ten influence or something that is like really getting defensive over the conference and like every little pushback on them. And I don't know. It's very SEC-like, almost in a way, like the extreme, of where it's like, or any fandom for that matter, of like, they can do no wrong because this is what I root for. So like, if they want to do this, that's fine. But that if the other side did it, it would be like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? And so the Big Ten folks that I've kind of come across, it's been interesting to see them really defend this private equity deal. And it's not the majority, it's just a couple here and there. I just think personally that's the wrong move, man. And it may be that their rooting interest is in getting this money. And so that would make it make sense. But I do think it's a blessing to have a couple people going, wait a second, like this isn't the best idea because, they have a lot more information, first of all, at their disposal. And not everybody's the exact same. Like, Minnesota may need this. Iowa may need this. USC and Michigan clearly don't. Why would Ohio State's always the big question, almost used as like, well, this must be a good idea because Ohio State's on board with it. Well, if they're on board with it, why wouldn't everybody? Well, because they're spending so much money that they need money no matter how much money they're making. So this is all just more fodder for, crazy realignment theories and certainly for actual legit discussion on what could take place, including realignment over the next few years, because if this continues down this pathway, then maybe there is a fracture that's created because the Wolverines and Trojans are like, we're not going to do this, and we don't care, in Michigan's case, how long we've been in the Big Ten. This isn't good for us. Or they eventually get convinced to jump on board, and that turns into whatever success or failure it does, and maybe it goes a couple of other routes. I don't know. But, yeah, I definitely don't believe, just in general, that the Big Ten's the one holding the joystick in this case. I feel like they are not in control of this game, that if anything, they're a part of a multiplayer game, and USC and Michigan have as much power, if not more, actually, because if they aren't a part of things, well, that changes the deal entirely, and that also creates some shockwaves as well. So that's just, a little interesting note from Jen Cohen in her newsletter and talking about the scheduling piece, but in particular the Big Ten enterprises. So definitely a story we'll be continuing to talk about as we move along here over the next few months and maybe even years as well.
I also think that there's an element to this of let's pump the brakes before we start taking money, because if they take this money in 10 years, do they care where the next money comes from? If that's just the thing. Like, okay, California pension fund is one thing. Well, where's the next money come from? When you burn through all this, what happens next? Because the one thing that these other schools haven't shown an ability to do is balance the checkbook.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's some schools that they just have their hand out eternally, and they don't care where it comes from, and that's why I wouldn't put it past there being a school out there that say, Saudis, come on down. Like, yeah, let's absolutely do it. I mean, there's enough American businesses already in bed with them as it is. So that wouldn't shock me at all that somebody would go that route if that route and that door were to be open. I would hate to see that. I mean, I think there's a lot of signs that college football is not what it was. I'm not a fool, and I don't pretend like it's 1997 all over again. But that, to me, would be a step way too far into where like there's just no denying this is nothing close to college football. If you're taking foreign investments from like a PIF situation, like Live Golf and the WWE and UFC and all of those that have already done so. I think having like USC Michigan Riyadh season would be just the grossest thing possible. But there's some school out there that's desperate enough to take money, so we'll see where it goes, man. This is part of the never-ending pursuit of cash and trying to remain relevant. And I just think it's a race that's going to be a losing race for a lot of people. And eventually, like a Big 12 and an ACC or something, have to go like, you guys just want to like make some rules and just be like real college football and not like proto NFL. Let's do that. Like, yeah, but we won't be like in the quote unquote big playoffs. Like, yeah, but it sure as hell beats the hell out of trying to raise like $50 million every year to try to just keep up with the Joneses, only to fall short the same way we did previously anyway. So
that's actually the more realistic way a Super League happens. If the rest of them just go like, okay, you guys win. Yeah. We can't like,
we're just done with this.
We can't do it. We can't do it. We can make enough money to everybody's happy, but we cannot. Like if you're going to be a $200 million athletic department and our cap is only $60 million, we can't like on our best year, we're still going to be behind you by 9 figures.
Yeah. And just the other part is like, obviously they're a little bit hesitant to sign a 20-year grant of rights extension. Like I don't think she says a key word there, flexibility. Well, signing up through 2046 is not any type of flexibility. So again, nothing happening, nothing imminent, but USC and Michigan are holding out on this cash influx from the outside that the Big Ten's been pursuing, and looks like they're still engaged, but we'll see where the conversations go. And maybe they cut a deal and they say, hey, USC, you're only signed up through 2035, and they go, all right, cool, we're actually on board with that. But that will happen when it happens, or whatever happens next. We'll see and go with the flow with that. But just thought those comments were interesting, and obviously that's big picture stuff on a college football weekend, but it is something that would have a trickle-down effect to the Big 12 perhaps, or to the ACC, or to whoever. USC and Michigan not being in line with the Big Ten. So, that's an interesting story for sure.
Yep. Okay, a couple of games we'll get into that are one last night just to, talk about. Craig's favorite uniforms in college football demolished Troy 33-0. Old Dominion wins last night. Tonight, Clemson versus Louisville. Louisville, like everybody in the ACC, needs a nice win. And Oregon versus Minnesota, that one's a little interesting to me. I mean, I think Oregon's going to win, but PJ Fleck and the crew, Craig, can really kind of mess up your life.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, they have a solid enough team. They could get Oregon on a bad night, or put up a kind of a performance that rattles the Ducks a bit. And we saw Oregon by the hair on their chinny chin chin, or bill, I guess. Actually, we saw them, get away with that win in Iowa, but who knows how they respond a week later and how they play. But they are at home in Autzen, so like it'd be one thing if they were playing at Minnesota, but being at Autzen, that's a little bit of a different story there. But yeah, Minnesota's already a bowl team. They're solid enough, and it'll be competitive. But last night, Old Dominion, just waxed Troy. I mean, jumped out early and just kept jumping and shut them out, and that was a huge win for ODU. Now 7-3 overall, and now matched up with Troy in the Sun Belt standings, both at 4-2, but now at the head-to-head. So that was a nice win for them, and not a competitive game whatsoever. So if you were hoping for some fireworks from that one in particular on Thursday night, there were nothing. There was nothing in regards to any fireworks whatsoever. So and then on Minnesota and Oregon, that'll be fun. Also got the Big Ten standings rolling along, and Oregon with that win staying in the mix, but very much Indiana and Ohio State in the lead pack right now. So I think they'll be watching intently, and a lot of people will, just for the CFP ramifications this game, like hoping that Oregon loses this one and slips up. But being at home, having that little bit of a scare last week, I expect the Ducks to win, but we'll see. We'll see how they row the boats, and if they can't start this weekend off with a little bit of chaos, that wouldn't be bad in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. The big ones this week, I mean, the three biggest ones, Notre Dame and Pitt. We'll get into an injury about that game, but We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Everybody who hates Notre Dame loves Pitt this week, and hoping Notre Dame gets knocked out. That would be a huge, Pitt winning this game and knocking Notre Dame out of the playoff is not just a win for Pitt as they try to get to the playoff, but Pat Narduzzi said this week, and we didn't talk about it, and this is a wild thing for a coach to say, but he said, look, if we win the two after that and lose this one doesn't matter because it's not an ACC game. So he's approaching it loosely, which could be a good or a bad thing. But Pitt, in a seat right here where they can affect the entire playoff picture.
Yeah, they could. I mean, I think everybody not Irish Catholic or an Irish alum or whatever is rooting for Pittsburgh to topple Notre Dame here and really create some chaos. And it would be a great win to really shatter the existing standings and completely knock Notre Dame out of the picture. So, from the haters to just the people that want to see a spot open up for their team to be able to slide in there, like an extra SEC team or a second Big 12 team or a second ACC team, whatever the case may be. Like, this is one of those games that can create that kind of a domino effect. And if Pitt doesn't get it done, and Pitt's a good team, I mean, since they made that quarterback change, they've been rolling. But for Notre Dame, big favorites in this one. And then after this, you've got Syracuse, who is not very good. And really the only headlines I've seen out of Syracuse is like Fran Brown reactions to certain things that have occurred. And then they've got Stanford on the road, which there's like 0.1 chance that they would actually pull the upset in that case, no matter how hard Andrew Luck is rooting on the sidelines for that one. So this is the last obstacle, really, if you think about it, for Notre Dame before the playoff announcements. And so, yeah, this is a huge one. And if you want the Irish to get knocked out, this is probably the only chance that's going to happen, because they will be heavy, heavy favorites the following 2 weeks. And then obviously they don't play a conference championship game. So that's the bugaboo people have with Notre Dame in the conference. And I know there's a lot of blowback on Joey McGuire, but the thing is Notre Dame can say, well, we played Miami, we played A&M, we played tougher. Well, you also lost to both of them, mind you, as well. But Texas Tech is going to have to play another game and beat BYU a second time, or beat Utah a second time, or whatever other scenario is even possible at this point. Those are pretty much the ones, though. And so, you don't have like a USC or a Michigan or an Ohio State that they then have to play in early December. It's this Pitt game on the road, and then it's probably them rolling into the playoffs. So you're going to see a lot of Panthers fans this weekend, I believe. And, that's going to be a game with a lot of ramifications.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the rest of it a little bit later in the show. Our guest today, Zach Barnett, Football Scoop, every Friday in about 5 minutes. I talked to Ricky Thompson earlier today, Craig, on Baylor season. Obviously, the off-the-field stuff that happened this week and the ramifications for that and more. He'll be at 4 o'clock. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com at 4:30. And then the backstretch of the show, just wide open for you and I to dive into games and some other news stories, including one I think is really fun about superstitions and Kalen DeBoer's black hoodie that he's worn in the 2 years he's been in Alabama, and the contingency plans for it. But that will be later on in the show. Next up, Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. This is 365 Sports.
PettyClinicLowT.com, where Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and perhaps used to be. As you get into your upper 30s, sometimes it might be in the 40s and even early 50s, your energy drops. And it might not be you, other than the fact that your testosterone has dropped, and that can affect your energy. Maybe you're fit. Maybe you have a great diet. And then maybe you just need a boost, and that can help you too. Dr. Kent Petty will set you up to get your blood work. Take care of it by contacting him at PettyClinicLowT.com. They'll get the blood results. They'll look at the testosterone level. And if your testosterone level is too low, Dr. Kent Petty can put you in a program to increase your testosterone, and you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in old lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than HEB with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back, 365 Sports. Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. One of our favorite websites that we go to pretty much every day. If there's a day I don't go to it, it's because I straight up whiffed, Zach, and missed it or closed the tab before I read it. A lot of interesting things going on. Let's start here close to home. We dove into it at length with the Michael Trigg thing that came out last week, and then, of course, Mack Rhoades taking a leave of absence here at Baylor. What are your impressions from the outside about this, what the long-term implications are for Baylor and for the CFP committee?
My first thought, and I don't know if this says a good thing or a bad thing about me, was I wonder what this means for Dave Aranda's job status, because there was great speculation that if the UCF game had not gone the correct way, that Baylor was going to move on from Dave Aranda after that game. And obviously Baylor won the game and has since been off. So you have to wonder if this season takes a downward turn, is there someone there with the juice to move on, and who would lead a search and all that stuff? Because I've spoken with agents of I've just straight up been told that Eric Morris is the leader in the clubhouse for the Oklahoma State job, but would prefer Baylor if given the choice. And obviously Baylor has to open for that to happen. So that's my immediate thought. I don't have answers there. As for the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, there's people out there that follow that closer than I do. I don't tune into the Tuesday night teleconferences because my impression from my colleagues is that it's just an exercise in frustration. But the people who do that I follow did not come away with a high impression of Mack Rhoades and how he presented the committee's findings. And obviously, I think that's a bit of a thankless job because you may disagree with the committee, but you have to represent the committee. But the emphasis was on strength of schedule this season, and there were supposed to be new metrics, and he didn't do a good job of explaining that. And he seemed to just come across he'd mentioned Notre Dame's running backs, Ohio State's offensive line play. And it's like, is that really your job, or is your job just to summarize? So I think the committee will be fine. Baylor, TBD.
Zach, the LSU story took a new twist with this Brian Kelly lawsuit. LSU not wanting to pay him. Now, pay that man his money, and they don't want to pay that man all his money, and now they're trying to find a way to not pay that man his money. And when you talk to people, I would think that, the governor spouting off a couple weeks ago and talking about how we're going to not have these crazy buyouts and all of that, like, it's just a lot of political talk and posturing, and it's not really going to affect the job too much. But does sitting there and trying not to pay this dude his money when he wasn't, successful enough for you, even though the contract says that that's what he's owed, does that affect the way a John Summerall, a Lane Kiffin, or whoever else might be looking at that LSU job?
I think it affects it in two ways. Number one, I don't think anyone takes the LSU job thinking, okay, well, if I don't win, they're just going to try and sully my name on the way out the door, because you take the LSU job thinking you're going to win. But I think this shenanigans, and this is just clown show shenanigans on LSU part, I think it signals that they don't have the money to pay Brian Kelly to go away. You notice Texas A&M didn't do any of this nonsense. They just paid Jimbo his money. They hired Mike Elko. Now they're the number 3 team in the country. So if they don't have the money to pay Brian Kelly to go away, they have to sully his name out the door. Do they have the money to pay me what I'm owed according to my contract? And then more importantly, more immediately, do they have the money to fund the roster that I'm going to need to come win? Or are they just going to try and insult my character 3-4 years from now? And then the other thing is just who's really in charge. Coaches want to know that the president is going to support them. The AD is going to work hand in hand with them. I mean, work for them more, to put it bluntly. And it seems to be that there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen there, and they don't have their ducks in a row. So is this ultimately going to keep them from getting the guy that they want? We're pretty close to that search. I think it's too early to say that one way or the other. But I would say that the Auburn job's looking better and better by the day.
The Arkansas job might be looking better and better to the day, or the Florida job looking better and better by the day if you want to be in the SEC. Like, I think it's probably good news for the people that want to hire John Summerall that Florida will have a tough sell hiring another Sun Belt or Conference USA American coach to come there, right? Like, that'll be a tough sell. But I think if you're Auburn or Arkansas, and sell to your fan base, they'll be thrilled with whatever. And reports today that Arkansas has kept in contact with Ed Orgeron are really interesting. Are you hearing anything big on coaching fronts or interesting that, as we get towards the end of the season, some of these ones that have been out there for a minute are starting to maybe take shape?
I think I was told a couple weeks ago that Oklahoma State wanted to have someone in place by about now, and I haven't heard anything differently. If I had to put money on it today, I would put money on Eric Morris being the next head coach at Oklahoma State. I've heard that everyone's trying to link James Franklin to Virginia Tech. I think there's a real possibility he ends up at Maryland. Maryland is Mike Locksley's been there a while. They're in the process of transition. Maryland most likely is going to lose out. So I know James Franklin at one point in time, many moons ago, was the head coach in waiting there. So we'll see on that. Obviously, it's easier to go win the ACC at Virginia Tech than it is to win the Big Ten at Maryland. That's for sure. And James Franklin has said that he still wants to go win a national championship. And then I think if I had to put money on who's going to be the next head coach at Auburn, I would certainly put it on John Summerall. I mean, sometimes these searches can get real complicated. Sometimes they can be real simple.
So who would be LSU?
I don't have a great name for you at that. Right now.
Yeah, I think of like Summerall and Kiffin. That's about the only names you hear heavily. But, that's obviously a very interesting situation. So you guys are very busy and are only going to get busier here over these next few weeks, that's for sure. But we do appreciate the insight. And I've heard similar on Eric Morris about, Oklahoma State. He can very well go and take that. But a lot of it does depend on, is Baylor going to open up or not? And if they do, then I think they've got a great crack at him. So, I'm hearing similar there as well. All right, Zach, so there are games to be played as well this weekend. And I've been asking the question this way to kind of hit two birds with one stone. There's two heavy hitter games in the SEC this weekend with massive implications for all four parties, Oklahoma and Alabama. The Sooners in Tuscaloosa, and then Texas and Georgia, the Longhorns in Athens. If there is going to be an upset, if not both, but if there's only going to be one upset, where does that take place, Athens or Tuscaloosa?
I'd say Tuscaloosa, just because when I look at these matchups, I don't see a clear area where Texas has an edge over Georgia. That Georgia offense they can do just about everything, and they don't put up gaudy numbers, but they sure are good at what they do. And the Texas pass defense, the last two games has been the worst in the country, bar none. And they're getting everyone back. They're getting Michael Taft back. So if they go shut that down, maybe Michael Taft should be in the Heisman conversation because he would be transformative for them. But when I look at Oklahoma, Alabama, I see clear advantage for Oklahoma. This Alabama rushing offense is the worst. I looked this up today. The worst in terms of yards per game Alabama rushing offense since 1955. Ooh. And Oklahoma is a top 5 rushing defense. So is that enough to go win the game on its own? No, because Ty Simpson's managed to win with the worst rushing offense in any of our lifetimes. And Oklahoma loves to take chances in the secondary, and sometimes they get gashed. So I'm going to take the home team in both of these games. But if Oklahoma wins, I think they'll absolutely stifle the Alabama run game and force Ty Simpson to throw into tighter windows than he's used to. I think Oklahoma will have to be a little bit more disciplined than they usually are, a little bit more conservative than they usually are, and maybe go try to win and force some field goals, try to win this game 28-27, something like that.
Zach, this is a wild time in college sports with the private capital and all those things coming in, but Michigan and USC standing up and saying, hey, we don't really think that that's a good idea, and we don't really care that you think that you can't do this without us. Like, we have our own things. What do you think about the future when it comes to USC and Michigan and kind of throwing the hammer down of like, hey, we're just not going to go along with the crowd because you guys spent your money poorly?
Yeah, I saw one Michigan regent come out and say that it's his job. He views his job as to protect the future from the present. And I'm certainly not your guy to go to the nitty gritty of how all this stuff works.
Right.
But when I see the payout that these schools are going to get, this sounds insane, but it's like $140 million per school or starting from there. And my response is, really, that's all? I mean, $140 million is a ton of money, but all these schools spend that annually. And they're going to create this new enterprise where there's new debt, there's no new payout, no payment that is going to come due, no bill that's going to come due down the road. But of this new Big Ten enterprise, the investor will own 10% of it, and all the schools will own 5.5% and on down. So you're going to trade less than 1 year's salary for now you you were less than half of the greatest investor in this new fund. That to me does not seem worth it, but I don't have the details that these schools do, and I applaud Michigan and USC for standing up for it if they don't think it's right. Ross Dellinger does absolutely great work and laughs me and the reporting on all this stuff 10 times over. But I did laugh when he tweeted out there that Michigan and USC could be left out of future Big Ten TV payments. And I'm sure Michigan and USC are laughing at that, saying, yeah, try and go to NBC, Fox, and CBS without us and see how much money you get.
Yeah, man, first call for them would be, hey, Notre Dame, what are you doing? You want to form some sort of an alliance? I know that's a boogeyman word in a way, the alliance. But, yeah, I think they would have options. If Indiana and Purdue, and I hate to keep picking on certain schools, but if they were like, hey, we're not doing this, they'd be like, whatever. But USC and Michigan, that's a little bit of a different story. Like those are two brands that can have some options on the table for themselves.
And, of course, those two schools have history with Notre Dame, so they easily work together. And as we've seen, Notre Dame has thrived in independence in the new playoff era. They don't get the bye, but they turn out last year and get a home game, and they basically get their bye December 6th, and then they get to go play December 20th. And they're playing the same amount of games, even if they made the conference championship and won it. So I don't think Michigan and USC are threatened by this, any sort of saber rattling from the Big Ten office and these other campuses. They're talking to them through Ross Dellinger. I don't think they're threatened one bit.
Yeah, and I think, too, it could always be posturing of just like, give us more of a percentage, and we're on board, but we're not going to do it the way it is now. And I think that's entirely possible if that's the driving reason right now as well. But it will be fascinating to see kind of what direction that all goes. You mentioned Notre Dame. If they have a stumbling block, it's this weekend. It's at Pitt. Mason Heinschel takes over for Eli Holstein, who is struggling, and he's been great for the Panthers, and they've been rolling. How much of a chance do you give Pitt at home to pull this upset and to really throw a huge wrench in this college football playoff discussion when it comes to the Irish in particular?
I know everyone in the country is going to be rooting against Notre Dame this weekend because they are the turn the punch bowl right now to a lot of different teams. Because if they lose, they're done. There's no path for a 9-3 Notre Dame whatsoever. Having said that, even though the committee's kind of gone against their own protocol by ranking Notre Dame where they are, I agree with them. I think Notre Dame's a top 6-7 team. I just did a 6-7. Oh my gosh, top 5-6 team in the country. You look at CJ Carr's numbers; they're just ridiculous. He's averaged over 12 yards attempt these last 2 games. He's over 11 yards attempt 5 times this season so far. And obviously, that's not just because CJ Carr is a good quarterback, but he's got the best running back room in the country next to him. So Notre Dame's offense is improved from where it was when they made the title game under Riley Leonard. I know Jaden Greathouse is not expected to play. Austin Westlake's own. We'll see what kind of crowd Pitt gets. I wrote about this week how Pat Narduzzi said that they could lose by 100 points, and if they win the next 2, he'd take that. So when you're a college team in a decidedly pro sports town, that's probably not the message you want to send, that this game doesn't matter. I'm sure there'll be plenty of Irish fans there. So I think I'd love to see Notre Dame lose just to open it up for everyone else, but I think the Irish wins.
How big of a moment is this for the OU and Texas together to they could really mess up this whole thing? Like they could really make it jumbled.
Yes. I mean, I wrote about this week about how everyone in the SEC is saying, all right, if we just get to 10-2, we're in the playoff. And they're probably right because there's probably going to be more spots available for the SEC than there are 10-2 teams. But all it would take for there to be 6 10-2 teams would be for Texas to win out and Oklahoma to win this game and then chalk elsewhere. And is that likely to happen? Probably not, but it's crazier things have happened. So for these 2 Southwest Conference, Big 12, Southwest Conference, Big 8 schools to go to the twin capitals of this conference, I think you go back to, 2014, Alabama or Georgia have won every SEC championship but one. I think if both of these 2 teams win, I think you might see some text go back and forth, just like a fist bump emoji type text between Joe Castiglione and Chris Del Conte, because obviously the SEC is very proud of the type of football they've played, but Texas and Oklahoma are proud of the football they've played for the last 100 years. So if both teams win, I think they'd be happy to see the other one win. If they lose, they want their rival to lose for sure.
Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. Zach, Have a great weekend, buddy. Are you heading out to North? What are you doing? What's your football plan this weekend?
We're doing our show on the ticket 10 to noon tomorrow morning, 96.7 Sports Day DFW app, and then I will be on the couch.
Okay. What a day. What a day. That's a great one. Zach, we'll talk to you next Friday.
Sounds good.
Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. Next up, we'll get through some of the news stories we didn't get to at the top. Then Ricky Thompson, Baylor Radio, joins us. This is 365 Sports.
Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock kickoff, top 15 ranked Utah and Baylor in football. And McLean Stadium, also the home of the Baylor Club, just off I-35 in the Brazos River in Waco. General Manager Nick Colwell came in. Got a history of being able to take on a business, make it bigger, better, faster, and stronger. A completely new lunch and dinner menu is dropped, featuring locally sourced ingredients like Homestead Heritage Creamy Grits and Beam and Ranch Wagyu New York Strip. Holiday season's ahead. The Baylor Club excited to host plenty of fun family festivities, showcasing new events, bringing back traditions like their annual Friendsgiving in November and candlelight dinner in December, an event for everyone who wants to enjoy the holiday season. Let the Baylor Club take the stress out of your holiday with Thanksgiving to go. Chef-prepared meals ready to heat and enjoy at home, available for members and non-members. It's the Baylor Club. General Manager Nick Caldwell with a new lunch and dinner menu with great top chefs available to cook it for you and enjoy inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back, 365 Sports, and some interesting stuff there, Craig, and maybe depressing for Garrett a little bit in that Zach Barnett could not give us any kind of idea on what he's hearing about LSU right now, and that John Summerall, who I think was probably, John Summerall, Lane Kiffin, those two don't really appear to be in the water right now as it stands for LSU today.
I mean, they could be. He's just not hearing it, and he's just kind of in a gray area when it comes to LSU because I think LSU's got to figure out what money do they have. Are they going to be paying Brian Kelly all that money? Are they going to get out of some of that, or are they going to, have some different pot that we don't quite know or aren't sure how much that actually entails at this point? I don't think that they know. I think that's what they're trying to work through. And if you don't know how much money you have to spend, then it's kind of hard to go hire a staff, isn't it? Hard to hire a football coach and tell him, here's how much money you're going to have to go get your OC, DC, your position coaches, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of a hard sell no matter how much success you've had. And so there will be plenty that are lured they're lured to that job by just the success over the years, the multiple head coaches winning national titles, recent Heisman winner, great atmosphere, rabid fan base, all of that stuff. But the key to everything in college athletics right now is money, right? And if you don't have it, then you're not as in the game as the others that do, and we've seen Texas Tech as a classic example of how having that money has propelled them to a different plane than a lot of the others in the Big 12. Now, yes, I know there's the culture piece and there's all of that, but let's face it, the talent is what's actually winning out, and that talent is there partly because of culture, but mostly because of the money, at least initially. They come to fall in love with the culture, and I saw, who was it, Lee Hunter maybe? I know UCF fans probably didn't like to see this clip, but Lee Hunter talking about how he wished he would have been in Lubbock earlier and been able to be a part of that program earlier on. I don't think it was a diss at UCF. It was just a compliment to Texas Tech, but yeah, you got to have your money right, basically, is what I'm saying in college athletics these days to compete at the level that LSU expects to compete at. And we've seen where that level is above just being 8-4 every year or flirting with 9-10 wins. It's basically what they're saying is it's SEC and national championships, playoff appearances or bust. And the only way you're getting there, I don't give a damn how much talent Louisiana has or how much history you have. Money talks, and that's it. And so they got to get that in order. So I do think that's interesting because I wanted to ask him that about how much is this not wanting to pay this buyout going to have an effect. And clearly there's some people going, that's, I don't know about that. And we'll see how that plays out for them moving forward and what the next shoe to drop is as far as that back and forth with Brian Kelly. But hey, them being in a little bit of a murky territory right now sounds like great news for Auburn. Go get John Summerall. I think they'd be plenty happy with John Summerall being the next head coach of the Tigers. So, yeah, Zach telling us that that's kind of the leader in the clubhouse as far as he suspects right now, and that'd be a top-notch hire for Auburn to get back in the game. And then, obviously, the Eric Morris piece of this as well. I mean, we've been hearing that Eric is definitely interested in the Baylor job, and I do think, based on what we've heard and what you just heard Zach say, that if you put equal contracts on the table and you said pick one, Oklahoma State or Baylor, I would put my money on him picking Baylor. And I think others have said as much, but is there going to be that option? Baylor's obviously in a whirlwind the last 24 hours, having to come to this agreement with their AD stepping away and having to address the public and deal with all of that comes with it, and him kind of being disgraced is too harsh of a word, but definitely
embarrassed.
Embarrassed is all capital letters embarrassed. Not only for Baylor, but the CFP part of this as well, to have to step away as the chair of the CFP committee. So they're figuring that out right this very moment. But as we said yesterday, they also got to be figuring out of is this the time to make moves, or are they just going to sit on their hands and go, well, it's too chaotic because of the Mac situation. We got to see how this plays out, and until we do, then we can't hire a head coach. Well, then Eric Morris is going to be the next head coach at Oklahoma State. Now, if they go, we can't wait for Mac Rhodes to get his head straight or to get him back from wherever he's gone to then decide on his future and how that affects the football coach. Like, we may just have to move on with the football coaching decision despite him, without him, or with a little bit of input from him, but he cannot be guiding the search 2 weeks after this incident. So there's going to have to be somebody, either Linda Livingstone or interim ADs, or certainly the donors. Like, y'all are the ones, Baylor big money donors, whoever you are, y'all are the ones that are going to have to say, we're going to go take this little sliver of opportunity and we're going to go hire Eric Morris, or he's going to go to Oklahoma State, and you're going to have probably Dave Aranda back for another year. You could always go get Jeff Traylor, and there's plenty of other options that are probably out there as well. But, yeah, that's something that Oklahoma State fans are now going to be eyeing very closely, because it is going to have an effect on them as well.
Well, Baylor has to, and this is, I don't mean it to sound harsh if it ever comes out that way. You kind of laid out the paths, Craig. I think the best thing for them to admit, look, I think we can all, I can safely say, Mack Rhoades is not coming back. Like, that's not going to happen.
I said yesterday that I don't think it should happen, and I just don't see a scenario where it will happen. Yeah.
After a couple of days of conversations now, I just don't if it does, if it does, it means it's great news for Mack and for Baylor that, like, all this stuff has been fixed. But when, you go through the kind of things that people go through when they have to take leaves of absence, and that's all I'll leave it at. There are things that need to be repaired on the back end that fell off, and I don't think you can do that with a person who needs to, like we talked about at the end of the show yesterday with Mack. Mack's focus does not need to be on his career. It needs to be on his life.
Yeah.
And so if he's going to do that, then pulling him back in the minute he feels like he can work again is probably not the best for both sides, because you're just pulling a person back into a situation that, they weren't dealing with well before they left, So I think what you'd have to do is you have to just say, here in the next, week to 10 days, we are hiring a new athletic director.
Yep.
That new athletic director, and we're going to hire him fairly quickly, or them pretty quickly. And then we will start this, we will make decisions on football reasonably at season's end. But if you do, hit the accelerator a little bit on this, you could find yourself in a situation where you've got an AD and football coach lined up. If you stay in the Mack tree, North Texas and Jared Mosley is very intriguing to me, because he would likely just bring Eric Morris with him. And then after that, then you have another discussion about, well, what does Eric Morris bring with him? So,
right.
And so I don't want to get down that road, but I think that they have an opportunity, if they act quickly, to actually maybe capitalize on a situation that doesn't come along all that often.
Yeah, it might have been, as much as it might come across poorly, I don't mean it that way, but it's almost like a blessing in disguise for them to make a decision on the bigger picture. So I think that, yeah, there's an opportunity here where there's a sliver that's opened up where you kind of were at a fork in the road, and now there's been like a boulder that's fallen on one fork, and so it's like saying, like, better go left here. Like, there's a great, you can wait if you want to, but there's no ensuring that you're going to get moving anytime soon. Or, you can read the signs and say, let's go left and we're going to get to our destination quicker. And that's probably a bad metaphor I just came up with off the top of my head. But I think there's signs now that if you believe in those types of things of, this is the moment, that if you're going to sit there and pivot and go a different direction, this is the time to do so. I don't foresee Mack Rhoades coming back anytime soon, if at all. I do think that if, he's truly got so many things to unpack and everything that it's going to take longer than a couple of weeks to figure out and to deal with, and that he's going to have to, take care of himself for a lot longer than a couple of weeks, just so that he can be cured of whatever ails him or whatever issues he's dealing with or his family's dealing with or what have you, just so he can come back and make a football hire or a football decision, even for that matter. I don't think he's the one that needs to be making the decision at this point now, because I don't think that with what he's facing that that's the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth thing that should be on his mind at this point. So, I think there's a good opportunity here for Baylor to just kind of go, all right, clean sheet of paper, new era. we're starting different, and I think Dave Aranda is unfortunately kind of just twisting in the wind. Now you could always hire an athletic director and just keep him on another year, because that's a lot to try to cram into like a month's time. But I think it's doable, particularly if you've done what every board or president should be doing, which is what every athletic director does if they're smart and good at their job, is you always have a list in your back pocket of, okay, if a scandal drops tomorrow, or if, God forbid, tragedy occurs or whatever, like if we have to make a decision.
Or if Dave Aranda just left.
If Dave Aranda takes the Stanford job, like what do we do? Yeah, like you have to be prepared for at any moment something could occur that makes you have to go a different route. And so you should always, and Mac told us he always had a list in his back pocket of candidates that he would go if Dave Aranda left suddenly or whatever. And I would think that Linda Livingstone and that board would have that as well. And hopefully they've been doing their due diligence on candidates. And I think Mac probably was already to begin with, and they could pick up where he left off. And yeah, man, it's just going to be a really crammed timeline for them. But then again, I mean, the double whammy of the AD and head coach is really what amplifies this. But let's not forget that not that long ago, you still weren't having coaching searches on November 14th. Like, it was December, and you got into December, and the season ended, and the writing may have been on the wall, but you weren't, like, publicly already out there for weeks and weeks like we've seen with all of these jobs this year. Like, this is the new normal. You used to be able to, like, get through the season, you fire the coach, he leaves, you agree to part ways, and then you go and you hire your coach. And, of course, you've done a lot of due diligence prior to that, so I don't think they need to feel like they got to make a hire tomorrow. But I do think if you're at all interested in Eric Morris, then you better buckle up and get started and get going, because, Oklahoma State wants him, and that's become very, very clear that he's their top guy after the Zach Robinson stuff kind of early on. And I know a lot of that was just the romanticizing of a former player, and, of course, a guy coming from the NFL, and he knows Oak State and the culture and all that. But I saw very quickly a pivot where North Texas was having success and Drew Mestemaker's playing his ass off, and they're like, hey, Eric Morris would be great. And soon enough, I feel like that's the name I've been seeing constantly for Oklahoma State fandom. So, yeah, they're definitely going to have their eyes on this one. And for Baylor, you have some choices to make, and fortunately, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to make those choices, but you better be calculated, and I'm so interested in what comes next. And I hate that Dave Aranda's kind of caught up in just this, again, as I said, the twisting in the wind. But, man, it'd be one thing if you were on the job for like 3 years. It's been 6. Like, it's not like this has not been opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. It's not like there was one losing season. There's been multiple now. They're not exactly in the top of mind when you think of the Big 12 at this point. They're just sort of there. They're sort of twisting in the wind as an athletics program right now. So there's always going to be collateral damage. You don't want to root for people to lose their jobs in his case necessarily, but also he set himself up for this as well by them not being at a certain level for these past few years. It's not like they've been great and you're like, oh, we just don't like Dave Aranda. It's like, no, they're not meeting the standard that was the standard established in 2021. And they're not even coming close to it really right now. So, yeah, this is going to be a frenetic, I think, next few days and weeks for Baylor Athletics to figure out what they want to do. And it will have an effect on Oklahoma State potentially and obviously others as well.
Surprise guest, Craig. Taylor McCarg joins us now. This was Taylor, thanks for waiting. Sorry about that. Where are you stationed this week?
In Reno, Nevada. I know you guys are jealous. It's good to be on with you on a Friday. Happy Friday. It sounds like you guys had already landed the plane on the conversation around Mr. Rhodes and Baylor, so we don't have to talk about that. But how are y'all doing?
Doing great. Reno, the biggest little city in the world. Go to Circus and win yourself a teddy bear while you're there, Taylor. That I remember that because that happened when I was 5. My dad took me there. My parents were there. We went to Circus, and I won a teddy bear. And I thought, man, Reno's awesome. But this is not a weekend that is chock full of major games, but it's got a few games that have massive playoff implications, starting in Pittsburgh with Notre Dame and Pitt. Pitt is without their kicker, too, who's really, really good. But Pat Narduzzi has stumbled onto, I don't want to say stumbled onto, but they found a true freshman quarterback who has, if nothing else, moxie and has not lost a game since he took over. This is Notre Dame's biggest test. What do you think happens in Pittsburgh on Saturday?
Yeah, look, I would love to say for the drama perspective that I think that this will be a tight game, that this will be, and it will obviously be a good atmosphere. But I think the quality that Notre Dame brings on the offensive and defensive line is something that I don't think Pitt is going to match up well with. I think Pitt, look, if you get to 7-2 at this point of the season, you deserve a lot of credit. You deserve to be ranked. Everything that has come their way, College game day, the whole thing. However, I think they have feasted on the bottom half of the ACC. I don't think there's any question that they've benefited from. If you go back to, they lose back-to-back games in September against West Virginia and Louisville, and you're talking about shutting it down in a lot of ways for Pitt and who can they retain. And then they go on a run. Boston College, Florida State, Syracuse, a number of teams that are really not very good out of the ACC. Now, look, you still have to beat those teams. Look around the rest of the ACC. I know Virginia and Louisville thought maybe the same thing and both lost last week. But for this game specifically, you ask me what happens. I think that line has gotten almost up to 2 touchdowns. I think Notre Dame wins. I think they win around that line. I think it ends up being a 2-score game and win for Notre Dame. And in terms of playoff implications outside of this game, I think you look to Texas and Oklahoma. I covered the Big 12. We've got that show Inside the 12, and it's one of the things that we talked a lot about was what help do teams like Utah need, and it's exactly those teams. Some combination of Notre Dame, Texas, and Oklahoma need to lose, and I think this is an elimination game for Oklahoma this weekend.
Taylor, I'll throw it out there. Do you have anything? I know you said we kind of covered the bases on roads, but do you have anything you would like to add on that? Just curious.
I think it's unfortunate for Baylor just overall. And I would just say for a program that has had, I don't know if you want to go as far as say, in some circumstances, you could say scandals, you could say, marks on the program, whatever. I guess it's not too far, all the way back to, and I'm drawing a blank on the names, but the basketball player and the murder from however long ago.
Patrick Dennehy is his name.
Yeah, sorry. For those examples, I think this is a program that's tired of having things like this that come up, it seems like every 5 or 6 years. And I don't know, you guys and your fan base are obviously know Baylor far better than I do, but from the outside looking in, it looks like a fan base that's a little exhausted of having stuff like this happen. And then with regards to Dave Aranda, to me, it looked like they were positioning, and they still might be positioning to move on from Aranda. I don't know how you do that now. I think Baylor has now found themselves in a not too dissimilar situation for LSU. And you're not competing for the same level of head coach between those two jobs, but it's the same issue where if you are a coach of quality and you look at LSU right now, you're saying, is that really a mess that I want to get into with all that they have going on with their athletic director? It's the same thing now with Baylor. If you're a coach of quality and you've got 2 or 3 options that are similar to a job like Baylor, I'm not sure that this is one that you want to step into. And it'll really depend on how quickly, does this get resolved with Rhodes? What happens? But it's kind of worst case scenario for Baylor where it felt like this was a moment to move on. And I don't know if you can right now.
Yeah, I neither Paul or I went there, but we've obviously covered them for a long time, and we're much more up close a few years ago, but still, talking and around and everything like that. And I get the feeling from you of like just the fan base is just like, are y'all guys serious over there? Like again, like there's something else again. And it feels like the meme of like, it's been 0 days since the last incident. Like that's what pops in my mind is, you'd finally felt like you were kind of maybe moving on, and every time you do, there's always another shoe that seems to drop for them. So, yeah, man, all right, pivoting away from that particular story, but sticking with the Big 12, your thoughts on what came out of last weekend with Texas Tech and BYU, the ramifications, big picture-wise, obviously Tech in the driver's seat, BYU kind of licking their wounds a little bit, and there's this Utah team that's out there trying to see if there's a ray of light of an opening for them to try to wriggle their way into the spot in Arlington and even potentially the CFP.
Yeah, Utah fans extremely excited to see that that's a 13 spot. But then if you look at the percentage chances that come out, and it's less than 10% chance that Utah gets in, I think it speaks to the amount of help that Utah needs, because it's unlikely at this point, it's not impossible, but it's unlikely that they will play for the Big 12 championship. It's in all likelihood Texas Tech versus the winner of BYU and Cincinnati. Now, you could get some chaos that gets introduced this weekend if TCU goes on the road and somehow pulls out a win over BYU. Who knows what happens? But at the top of the college football playoff rankings, when you think about the teams ahead of BYU and Utah, Notre Dame, assuming they win out, they're obviously in as an at-large. And then Texas and Oklahoma, I think worst case scenario for teams like a BYU or a Utah is if they're sitting there as a 2-loss team pitted up against a 3-loss Texas. If Texas were to somehow split against Georgia or A&M, get a win over either one, I think it's going to be difficult for the committee to not take Texas with the wins that they would have over, especially BYU. If they were to lose the way that they did against Texas Tech, I don't know that they get in. And I know SMU did last year, and they weren't penalized for playing in the ACC championship. But what it looked like to me from Texas Tech is we don't need to overthink this out of the Big 12. I think Texas Tech is by far the best roster. And that front seven, there's nobody really in the Big 12 that can block them on a down-to-down basis. And I know they have the loss against Arizona State, but they did not have Baron Morton playing. And Baron Morton, if he plays, they win by 20 or more. That's been the rule all season. And so I think we'll look up at the end of the season, and it will have always been Texas Tech. I think they're the most complete team. The last thing that I'll say, it's something that I'm just keeping an eye on as the season progresses. If Texas Tech wins out and they keep blowing people out by 20-plus points, does that earn the respect of the committee to get them in the 5 spot? Does that get them against the 12 seed, which you would imagine would be the winner of the American? That would be huge for Texas Tech, because then you're getting a home playoff game against the G6 representative, almost certainly win that game. That where they're seated, I think, is what I'll also be paying attention to down the stretch.
There's nothing I would love to see more than a second-round game versus Texas or Texas A&M for Tech either. Just as a fan of college football and living in Texas, as long
no
as
doubt
I have Taylor get the old Southwest Conference, dander up, so to speak, Big 12 as well. You mentioned that Oklahoma and Texas, and that's an elimination game for Oklahoma, but it's not really for Texas, because if they went 9-3 and one of those wins is against Georgia or A&M, who A&M will likely be undefeated when they play Texas in 2 weeks, that can kind of maybe be the eraser for the Florida game, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think you're looking at, for Oklahoma, what would be the most quality win they have on their schedule right now. I think we would all agree is Michigan. I think that's safe to say right now.
Yeah.
If they have 3 losses and their best win is Michigan, I don't think they get in, because Missouri and LSU down the stretch, it doesn't really help you. The loss against Ole Miss and then obviously against Texas, I just don't see a way that they get in as a 3-loss team. So to me, they've got to run the table. And if they do that, they're in. I mean, there's no mistake about it. If Oklahoma's sitting there at 10-2 and they figure out a way to go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama, they are in. But it's a different circumstance with Texas, where Texas would have a win over either Georgia or Texas A&M, and I think the head-to-head over Oklahoma. And I think that the difference in quality there. And that's not to say that I think a 3-loss Texas does get in. I think there's some circumstance that will depend, but you've got a much better shot if you're a 3-loss Texas than a 3-loss Oklahoma.
Oklahoma did beat Tennessee, so I would say maybe that's the better win than Michigan. But yeah, like they got a couple of good wins there. How much do you feel like USC should be wary of those Iowa Hawkeyes rolling in this week? Lincoln Riley's kind of quietly been good. There's not all this angst kind of surrounding him. They've been able to sort of fly under the radar as best as Lincoln Riley, USC can. But Iowa, fresh off that Oregon disappointment, what do you think about that one?
Look, I think it's still under a touchdown line. I mean, this is still absolutely. Could Iowa go in and beat USC? I don't think there's any question. It'll be interesting to see how does Iowa pick themselves off the mat after a close emotional loss against Oregon. USC is similar to Michigan, where they have flown under the radar, and they have obviously the big test. If they beat Iowa, then it all comes down to on the road against Oregon the following week. But this is a team that very quietly, under the radar, right there in the mix. And now you look at where they're ranked at the 17th spot. I think that surprised a lot of people. Their season will come down to that game next week against Oregon, assuming they can move past the Iowa this week. And then the last thing that stood out to me from the polls was just, again, the I don't know if it's lack of respect, because I think it's warranted, but where the ACC is in all this, that I think it's pretty clear at this point they're going to be a one-bid league. I don't think there's any scenario where Miami climbs all the way back up and gets an at-large spot, and then you also have the champion of the ACC to get two teams in. I just don't see that happening at this point. And for the Big 12 to have three teams ahead of any team out of the ACC, I think that really surprised me compared to what we thought the ACC was 3 weeks ago. If you had told me 3 weeks ago 3 teams out of the Big 12 would be ahead of every team out of the ACC, I would have told you were crazy.
Yeah, that this last week, I went from watching Texas Tech and BYU and seeing everybody going like, well, there goes the big chances, the Big 12 chances for two teams. There's only really one way for that to happen now, and then watching the ACC like eat its own after that, to going like, well, I mean, you're still maybe not wrong about the Big 12 completely, but they're certainly sitting in a better spot than the ACC right now, because the ACC, I mean, their scenario to get two teams in is, man, it is a threading a needle through a needle, isn't it?
Yeah, the only real way that I could see it happening is if Georgia Tech were to beat Georgia and then lose in the ACC championship. If Georgia Tech had one loss and they beat Georgia and then lost in the ACC championship, I think they would still get in. I don't think they'd be punished in that scenario for losing in the ACC championship. But I think the odds of that happening pretty slim. And again, for right now, I think this is looking more and more like, if there's between the two, the Big 12 has a much better shot at getting two teams in, and they need a lot of help as well. The best case scenario for that to happen would be for Texas Tech to be upset in the Big 12 championship, and then they would have two in.
So, Taylor, haven't asked you about the Rice Owls in a while, and I every time we talk to you, I always just go kind of look and see what's upcoming for them. And for a team that needs one more win, they could not have drawn two worse opponents these final 2 weeks, could they have? I mean, as far as the schedule goes, you got North Texas and then a trip to USF back-to-back, and all you need is the one. But damn, man, that's gonna be tough nut to crack there.
Yeah, well, the first thing that I would say, Rice last week announced a $120 million renovation of their football stadium, and so for Rice fans and anybody that has ever been to Rice Stadium or seen a game there, it hosted a Super Bowl, but it has been one of the worst facilities and one of the worst stadiums for a long time in college football. And credit to President DeRoche and Tommy McClellan, the athletic director, and the board for getting that done, because it was not – they were talking about a new stadium when I was playing there. And so to get that approved and that's happening, I've talked to a lot of alumni that are very excited about that. Scott Abel, to have them on the edge of bowl eligibility in year one, running a completely new offense, there's a lot of energy in the program, and I think people are bought in on what he's trying to do. But you're exactly right. They've got the two toughest teams in the league, two teams with the best odds right now out of the G6 of making the college football playoff. And so to me, it really is a one-game season next week against North Texas. If they can beat UNT at home, then you pull out all the stops, figure out a way to upset them. I don't see a great path to getting a win on the road against South Florida. If they need to win that game to get into the American Conference Championship, I don't see Rice having a great opportunity there. But it's still, despite all that, it's still a lot of momentum around Coach Abel and Rice right now.
For sure. My final thing for you, Taylor, the American, just sticking on that for a second. You got 5 one-loss teams at this point right now in conference play. You got South Florida at Navy this weekend coming down the pipeline, as well as Memphis at East Carolina. Kind of just where are you on this league at the moment and the race here down the stretch these last couple of weeks?
Well, I would say it's similar to the ACC, where every time we think we have a pretty good idea of the league, there's an upset. And so I still think South Florida is the most talented team in the league. I think North Texas is also extremely talented. They're very talented, but they lost by 30 plus at home a few weeks ago to South Florida. So to me, South Florida is the best team in the league. I think Navy benefited from a pretty weak schedule in the first part of the year. And in Memphis, that's always a tough out, especially if you have to play at Memphis. It'll be interesting to see, for James Madison, they're looking at the Americans saying we hope you guys just keep round robining one another and knock each other off. And then you end up with a 2-loss American Conference champion and they're having to pit them up against. If you have a 2-loss USF as your champion, they're going to be in over James Madison. But who knows what could happen down the stretch. That league, going back to UTSA's loss a couple weeks ago, that just was a complete stunner. They have, in a lot of ways, taken turns beating one another. Memphis losing at UAB. There's been some chaos in that league.
Taylor, by the way, before we let you go, when Baylor played Rice there a few years ago, it was my first time I'd ever been to Rice Stadium, and I was excited because of the Kennedy speech and we will go to the moon, all those things, and the Super Bowl III that was there, and like the historical aspect of it. But when I walked into the press box and went in the bathroom, and the door was the same one that was there during those two events, I knew that this is a stadium that probably needs to be remodeled because it's not a museum. It's a fully functional supposed to be a fully functional football stadium.
Yeah, look, they built the Patterson facility, the new end zone facility, and that's been great. That's one of the best facilities in the American just in terms of a field house. But the stadium has been, it's been needed for a long time. And Rice was trying to sort out for forever. Do they need to just scrape it and completely start from scratch? Do they retrofit this stadium? What do you do with the upper decks? For anybody that wants to go look it up, it's called the Gateway Project, and it's more than just the stadium as well. They're tying in the connectivity into Rice Village, which is where a lot of the bars and restaurants are. It's a massive project. They built a new indoor facility there as well. So it's a huge deal for Rice. So this was a place that I'm very thankful because there's still a lot that's going to happen in the next few years. And as we get closer to that 2030, 2031 shift that we're all expecting in college football, you better be in a position to fall forward. And I think this gives Rice an opportunity to do that.
Taylor McHargue, CBS Sports, live from Reno today. You guys have fun. Have a great broadcast. We'll talk to you soon, Taylor.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you.
That's Taylor McHargue. Next up, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. We'll have him, and then we'll have Ricky Thompson, and then the rest of the show open to talk about some other things. This is 365 Sports.
It's the holiday season. Alan Samuels in Waco helping you save big and stress less. Drive home with your new car, truck, or SUV right now, today, this weekend, and make no payments for 90 days. That's right, 90 days of extra cash in your pocket for gifts, gatherings, and good cheer. So unwrap the savings and start the new year in style by dropping by Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat in Waco. Votes are in. Motor Trend Truck of the Year is here. And the all-new 1500, Ram 1500, built tough, loaded with power, ready for anything Texas throws your way. Come test drive the truck everyone is talking about. And right now at Alan Samuels, the all-new 2025 Ram 1500 trucks in stock, ready to roll. 0% APR for 72 months. No payments for 90 days. 0% financing, 6 years, no payments, and they're available to test drive and then drive home today. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Alan Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Alan Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back. Awaiting Mickey Specknall to hop in to the chat, so to speak, or the backstage, so we can talk a little Cowboys today. Craig, you sent this morning. You have been, one of the first ones out front on JKS at Cal. Jaron Kiawe Sagaputele.
Close. Jaron Kiawe Sangapolutele. Yes, so you're in the universe. But yeah, Jaron Kiawe Sangapolutele. There's like a silent N. And a lot of Polynesian names. But, Jaron Kiawe Sangapolutele, or if you just want to simply call him JKS, that's what a lot of people have now resorted to. And it's catchy enough, and that works well to get it all in there. But you hear JKS, and, that's the man they're talking about, and that's the star freshman quarterback for Cal who he throws some beautiful balls. He's a freshman, so he's had some mistakes along the way, but Cal's bowl eligible. The future's bright, particularly because of him, and he's a really fun guy to watch, especially in that what was and what I still feel like is that Pac-12 after dark kind of time frame on certain weeks, especially early on. That's when I first started watching. I was like, oh, geez, this dude he throws a pretty ball, and wow, he looks legit. He looks like he's going to be a guy we're talking about for a long time. And he also looks like a guy that, if Cal's not careful, could be one of those that gets a big money offer in the transfer portal this offseason. And that's a lot of what the speculation has been, because that's just kind of what you expect. The bigger schools to come calling and come pecking at the superstars on teams that they can maybe outbid or what have you. And so there was some scuttlebutt about JKS and whether he'd be a guy that would go into the portal and go get a big payday. But last night he puts out a video where he is maintaining that he's going to be sticking around Cal. So let's see it.
For sure, I want to stay here. This is where I want to be at. And ultimately, obviously one of my biggest goals is to be 3-0, and go to the NFL. But, ultimately it's just on God's timeline. Whenever God says I'm ready, and whatever, if it's to play football, continue to play football. If it's not, I mean, I'll do the best in everything I can be. But since he's blessed me with, I guess, a talent for football, why not give it my all? And, ultimately, whatever I can make the most of that, wherever it leads me to, that's what I'm going to do. And, I just want to stay here at Cal and also get my degree here, because it's probably the most prestigious degree you can get for public schools, and in just any college you can go to. And yeah, ultimately that, yeah.
Well,
so you're just fully bought in your
You can stop that. Yeah. Yeah. It's so weird that a true freshman, we're at a point where, are you already going to go somewhere else because Cal is average, as a football program? But great news for them and good news for recruiting, in that you can say, look, he's going to be here. Like, you don't have to worry about that if you want to come and play with JKS.
Yeah, it's fantastic effing news for Cal, man. They had probably throw a party this weekend just in honor of JKS. Now, if you look at his stat line, you'd be like 13 TDs, 9 interceptions. But he's a true freshman, man. He's a true freshman. Again, he throws a beautiful ball, and he's got a lot of tools, a lot of skills, and he would absolutely go into the transfer portal this offseason and get some big money offers. I have no doubt in my mind about that. Long lineage, especially here in recent years. Shout out and rest in peace to the late Colt Brennan, but a guy who is, one of those kind of those first names that really made the way for this plethora of Hawaiian quarterbacks that have followed in these past few years. JKS, one of the more recent examples now on the stage currently in college football. And yeah, I think that's incredible news for Cal. He's a guy who is going to be able to keep them relevant and very much, I think, in the mix if they can build around him. But to have that declaration that he's sticking around, he's not going to go into the transfer portal. And I don't know how realistic that was, but just because he is a talent, that's what people assume is he's going to go chase the bag. But he's obviously got a good head on his shoulders. Cal's an excellent degree. Without getting political, because I know that'll, some people, Cal is a liberal or whatever. Like, dude, it's a great degree, and there's no denying that. And so he's a smart guy and a really good football player, and I'm glad that he's going to be sticking around there. So that's awesome, and that's great for college football, in my opinion, as well. So I love seeing that last night.
From great for college football to great for pro football, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. One of our favorites here on the show. And Mickey, after what had to be an emotional week in Dallas, they return to play on Monday night. And on the very positive side for the defense, we get to see a rookie that everybody's been waiting to see in Siobhan Revell, potentially. Not sure what his role on Monday night was. And Demarion Overshone, who is their probably best defensive player now that or most talented defensive player now that Micah Parsons has gone back and available for them down the stretch run of the season.
Well, let's not sell Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson short, please.
Yeah. I forget. I keep forgetting that Quinnen Williams. I guess they're.
It seems like the trade deadline was a month ago, right?
Yeah, they're returning player. If I had to tell you, all being healthy, who I thought the most talented players on the defense were, before the Micah Parsons trade, it was Micah and then Demarion Overshone, because he is very, very talented.
Yeah,
but he wasn't there.
So, and Revel too. And I think both of those guys should have a role in the game Monday night against the Vegas. How much, how soon, the Cowboys really haven't said, but Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said about both guys, they should hit the road running. And the same thing for Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson. Wilson, I bet he gets a whole bunch of snaps at middle linebacker, allowing Murray to move to the strong side. And then they'll fit in Overshone how they see, because it's going to be, if they play 60 snaps on defense, I bet he doesn't play more than 30. But they'll judge, as he said today. Let's see how it goes, and then we'll decide from there. Because remember, he hadn't played football since December 9th. As for Revel, he hadn't played football since the third week of the college season last year. So that's been a long time. Now, they've both been practicing. They both put in their 21 days of practice, which is the limit, and they have to move them to the 53-man roster. So good that they have that option, and it seems like with their starting safeties, Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson, that those guys have been practicing fully this week, so they should have both of those guys back also. So this is what they're hoping is a spark for a defense that's been struggling for the majority of the season.
Mickey, the offense hasn't, like, other than a game here or a game there, been struggling. But when they do, it's usually against an elite defense. They are not playing an elite defense this week. The entire offensive line, as it looks, is healthy after a bye week, like healthy and practicing all together, maybe in the full flow. How big is that for them moving down the stretch run of the season, which, nebulous at this point, as they have a losing record, but they're still not out of it if they can get on a streak?
Yeah, absolutely. And for that offense to get back on track, the offensive line has to play better. I was looking at what they were averaging over the first 5 games when they were 2-2-1. They were averaging 5.4 yards a carry. That's pretty stout. But now, after these last 4 games, and if you put all 9 games together, they're averaging just 4.4 yards a carry. And that's a drop-off. Dak's sacks have increased, and his times to run over these last 2 games when they've struggled offensively, he's had to run like 17 times. That's way too many times, right? So again, the offensive line has to do a better job blocking, as you said. Cooper Beepe's finally back. He's played, 2 games now since he missed 4. The one concern I have is Tyler Smith. The previous couple weeks, he'd been on the practice report as limited, and when they came back yesterday and today, he was limited again with a knee. So you're hoping that he's just not pushing through that, and maybe far from 100%, but maybe 80% of him's better than whatever else they can do. But I would imagine that they are got to get TJ Bass ready to go just in case. And, prior to these past 2 games, they had been getting Nate Thomas some snaps in practice at tackle, left side, right side, you name it. So he should be on call if someone starts struggling. But for this offense to get back on track, that offensive line has to play much better.
Yeah, that loss to the Cardinals, Mickey, was a real kind of punch in the gut for a team that can't afford to lose those type of games. Like, if you're going to stay in the hunt, you can't go out and get rolled by a team that's should be technically worse than you in the Cardinals, right? Like, at least on paper, you can't do that too often. Well, they have a chance to not wipe it off, but move past it on Monday with a game against the Raiders, who are really in a bad way right now. I think that maybe not everybody, coach, ownership, and play caller, are on the same page about their personnel. They've traded off some guys. This seems like the only true constant that they have going for them is Max Crosby, and the Cowboys need to take advantage of a team on Monday night that's in disarray.
Yeah, and you would hope, right? 2-7, they've lost 7 of their last 8, and the last 3 straight. So again, but we were saying the same stuff about Arizona going into that game on a 5-game losing streak, and we saw what happened there. So again, they just need to play better. But having said that, they've got to overcome this emotional distress that they've suffered since the death of Marshawn Nealon. It's not easy. Now, some of the guys, or a lot of them, are saying maybe playing football, get your mind off of that and get you back to some sense of normalcy after, going through the bye week. And then that happening, when they practice, when they play in the game on Sunday, that's going to be the first time, or Monday, that's going to be the first time they played in 2 weeks. So Dak Prescott talked about that, as Schottenheimer's been saying, we don't move on from the death, but we do move forward. And, they don't offer you any bereavement leave in the NFL. You got to play. And so some of the guys were saying getting back on the practice field was sort of a therapeutic session to take their mind off of what happened to their teammate and maybe getting back to playing football. Now, that's easy to say now. Now, let's see if they can do that going on the field Monday night in Vegas.
Mickey, yeah, and last thing I'll say, and I'm curious your comments on it. Solomon Thomas is a longtime advocate for suicide prevention. He's been through it in his own family, much like Dak Prescott. I watched the breakout session with him earlier. Well, I guess it was yesterday after it happened. It was equal parts inspiring in that you have a leader on this team who is, for lack of a better word, a couple who are kind of trained in this situation and have maybe at least a rough pathway on coping with a tragedy, but just heartbreaking hearing him tell the stories about Marshawn Kneeland and how enthusiastic and happy and excited he was. And if we win the championship, can we get matching tattoos? And, what if we had kids at the same time and they grew up to be best friends? That would be the best thing. And again, just you never know what somebody's going through, but those things were absolutely heartbreaking to hear that. That's one side of Marshawn Kneeland that they all got to see, but the other side was troubled and had some things going on, and now the world will never know those things.
Yeah, and no answers to it either, by the way. No easy answers either. Mm-hmm. And most of the guys that spoke, and they didn't open the locker room this week. They decided that they would bring choice players out to do, interviews with the media. Thomas went yesterday, Dak, Flournoy, Osa, Odigizua. Today we had CeeDee Lamb, Revel, Logan Wilson, and Quinnen Williams. So, yeah, and all those guys, they spoke about, knowing him, loving him. It's been heartbreaking for everybody. And, I think it was CeeDee Lamb. It's like, you're never the same, but you're hoping playing football helps get you back to some sense of normalcy. So we'll see. But, you can talk about it, but from an emotional standpoint, you got to be ready to go. You got to be ready to play. While everybody's offering condolences, moments of silence, I guarantee you the Raiders, once they hit the field, they're not feeling sorry for them. They're going to be trying to win a game. So, yeah, it's been a very tough, almost a full week now. Well, it is a full week. It's been more than a week since his suicide. And, I thought Quinnen Williams had a really good kind of perspective on things because he's new. He hadn't been here, but he thought how the organization handled everything, how Brian Schottenheimer treated the players, the coaches trying to take care of the players from an emotional standpoint was top notch. And he really respected and is glad he was here. You got to turn it on when it comes Monday night. And like I said, we'll find out if, playing for his memory is inspiring or if it's emotional. The emotional drain of the past week is hard to overcome.
Absolutely. Mickey, thank you so much. Enjoy the game on Monday, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. See you, Paul.
All right. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Next
Hold
up.
on 1 second. I want to add one thing onto the JKS thing because I didn't really get to fully flesh out my thoughts. I remember last year when Fernando Mendoza was all Cal at the end of the year, and we know where he is now. He's at Indiana.
Yeah.
Jaden ended up at Oklahoma. So that JKS thing, just the last exclamation point I would have put on it was, I think it's awesome news. I believe him when he says he's going to stay at Cal, but I am also not foolish enough to think that anything is 100% in today's college football day and age. But on the surface, I do think it's great, and I hope he does stick with his decision. I just wanted to follow up with that.
Well, new information can always become available.
Yeah. Fernando Mendoza got a call from Bloomington and was like, you know what? I'm not a Bear forever. I am going to go be a Hoosier as well. So I think JKS will get a lot of phone calls, DMs from uncles and whoever, loosely affiliated with places and go through that whole rigmarole like most top guys do. But I'll take him at his word for now. And if he sticks to his word, then I think it's awesome for the Golden Bears.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. But what if Justin Wilcox gets fired?
Well, if JKS stays, he's not going to. That's the whole thing. Yeah. So if you fire Justin Wilcox, then he's out of there.
Yeah.
That would be what happens. But because that changes everything.
Yeah. So absolutely. When we come back, Ricky Thompson, Baylor Radio. Then we wrap up the show in the 5 o'clock hour.
IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35 in Waco. Ideal MRI. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners put together a business for you, the customer and patient, for two things that is great for you. One, the cost is $497 or less every single time, when the average around the country is $1,100. And number two, they have a state-of-the-art imaging machine that will get the evidence, the images of what you and your doctor need, so you can proceed on how do you treat the problem. I've had a lot of that in my lower back, sometimes even up in my upper neck, cervical area, and the images have been great. And I've been able to kind of get a little bit better idea of how I'm going to get through all this. And I have been. In fact, on Thursday was up in Dallas for stem cell treatment on my lower back that should be helping me, my muscles and everything else get stronger and grow. IdealMRI.com. Ever since they opened their doors, $497 or less, images and pictures and evidence with their state-of-the-art imaging machine in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA, Insured Retirement Advantage, is a solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. If you're an asset manager or a licensed insurance agent looking to provide your clients with guaranteed tax-free retirement income and legacy protection, the new IRA Insured Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners. For more information, go to northstarfundingpartners.com and tell them 365 Sports sent you.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
This is Richard Carr, and it's hard to believe that 2025 marks our 26th year in the car business. I want to thank you for your support for the last 26 years. As a locally owned business, our customers in Central Texas community are also friends and neighbors. If you haven't been by lately, I invite you to come in and experience our amazing lineup of Buick, GMC, and Cadillac vehicles. Our goal is to make you feel like more than just a customer, but as a valued neighbor. Let us show you why we are people you can count on at Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
65 Sports, our old friend Ricky Thompson. It's been a minute since we've had Rick on the show, Baylor sideline reporter. And Rick, this has been on the field for Baylor, and we'll talk about some of the far-reaching consequences of the off-the-field stuff that is going on right now, towards the end. But on the field, where you're right there on field level every single game, this has been a team that has an immense amount of talent, especially on offense. They just don't really have a defensive identity, which is so odd given that Dave Aranda is a defensive coach and, lauded at times as a defensive genius for his past at Wisconsin and LSU. But there's fan apathy. There's just, this team cannot really, they can't get to the speed limit, right? They seem like the car is stuck in gear. What have you seen from your perspective that kind of keeps them stuck in gear?
Well, I thought during the early part of the season, particularly the first 8 games, that we really struggle up front defensively. I just think that you've seen virtually no pass rush, no penetration by that front, have not been good against the run, and really even less than good, I thought, rushing the passer. And just with that, I know we've had folks talk about our linebackers. They're not making plays. They're not doing this. Well, hard for those guys to make plays when you've got offensive linemen 4 and 5 yards downfield beating on your linebackers because they're not being taken care of up front. Now, that being said, you play UCF, who was rushing for 225 yards a game, and we hold them to 70-something yards, put pressure on the passer all day long, make him throw. I know they had done some research on him, and he was 70% completion rate with no pressure, and with pressure under 50. So, how they did it, what scheme they changed, I know Dave said they simplified some things, but I do know they got after the quarterback and they stopped the run, held UCF to 75 yards after 225. So that shows me they've got them in them. They beat UCF 30-3. And I don't know about you, but if I was taking over and under, I would have lost a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Because I'm thinking there's no way you're going to hold UCF less than 21, 28 points minimum.
Well, and that's potentially good news as you have Utah coming in this week. I think that there's a real case to be made that Baylor might have, if you went 1-85 just on the scholarship players, that Baylor might be a little bit ahead on some of the talent than Utah is. Now, Utah has an unbelievably good offensive line, especially those tackles, and a running quarterback who is starting to come into his own. And this is just a bad matchup for them. But if you're an optimist, Ricky, they did show something like you just said against UCF.
Well, they did. And you've said exactly the point, and that's what we need to watch in this football game. These offensive tackles may be number 1 draft picks, and they are really good. The quarterback is average throwing the ball, but that's not what has given us difficulty. What's given us difficulty is one that'll take off with football, and that's absolutely killed us. So great offensive tackles against our defensive line and a running quarterback. You would think that spells trouble. I think Utah defensively probably as sound as anybody will play all year. Defensively, I think they're really good. I think Tech caught them down a bit, and before they really started playing well and beat them pretty soundly in Salt Lake. But I'm not so sure this may be the best team we played so far this year. But if we play like we did against UCF, I think you've got a shot. I really do. And going back to UCF, I think there's good times and bad times to have an open date. It's always good for injuries, but after playing a game like that, man, I was ready to play the next Saturday. I did not like the timing of that open date.
No, especially I agree with you, especially for a defense that has been, desperately they're shoving virgins into volcanoes, Rick, right? To try to get anything to spark them, and then they finally get a spark, and then you have that bye week. Maybe it works out differently where they can have those extra days of practice and all that with the confidence, like, okay, well, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Have you seen? One of the things I think that I've always been surprised about through kind of the streakiness of the Aranda era is he never really has lost the locker room, which is probably his greatest strength in that. But it does get tiresome, Ricky. I know that throughout your career you were on some really great teams. You were on some teams that didn't reach their potential, and the teams that don't, it just wears on you as you get into that 7th, 8th, and 9th game. How do you see the team responding to the roller coaster nature of this season?
Well, surprisingly, really well. And I think to your point, that's one of Dave's strengths. I think this team likes each other. They play hard for each other. I think there's some games where I maybe thought they didn't play hard enough, but I don't think that's a reflection on losing the locker room, because these guys are all in, and it's tough. I mean, of course, we're talking like they're 2-8 and they're 5-4. So, it's not like it's a horrible record, but I think when you expected at this point to be 7-2 at least, and you're 5-4, that's a different story. And it would be very easy with a couple of these games, like a Cincinnati game, where you just didn't play well on the road and really got it handed to you. And of course, then you come back and beat UCF. But I just think that he has really done a good job, and I'll credit not just Dave, but the entire staff, of holding this team together. And I expect they're going to be ready to play Saturday. I think they'll come out and be ready. And I'm not going to be surprised if they don't play really well against this Utah team. And I think that would be a spark. And that's a compliment to this staff, because they've had struggles, and it started right off the bat, guys, with Auburn. That was a game that was so hyped, and it was hyped through the entire summer, entire off season, the home helmets, the whole deal, and then just really didn't play well. And I think that started this thing on the wrong side of the ledger right off the bat. But last year, remember, 6-game winning streak after going 2-4, I thought they were dead in the water. So you just never know, and that's a compliment to this staff.
So one of the things that can define a season, and obviously with the news yesterday of Mac taking a leave of absence, and the reality of it being that you're going to have a new athletic director, 99% at this point. Like there's not much of a pathway back to that. There's going to be a lot of changes that can derail a team sometimes, especially when the coaches, like the players, don't have to worry about it quite as much. With the coaches, this is a big deal for every sport, that the athletic director is now on a leave of absence and likely gone. But for a team, though, sometimes you can galvanize yourself in these times of crisis. But, Ricky, this is a tough thing across the athletic department. How do you think the team has to handle it? And is this maybe a thing that can help them focus in a strange way on, let's just go play Utah, who historically they've always played pretty well?
Yeah, I tell you, I think in that regard, I like Dave's comments and his press conference. I don't know if you heard those specifically, but his comment was about Mac, and Mac's a friend. We all just feel for Mac terribly, but Dave said, that's above my pay grade. We're just getting ready to play a game on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what he needed to say. I think that was appropriate. And And I don't know that that was particularly thought through by him, but that's just a typical Dave Aranda answer. And I think it was a very honest answer from him. And I doubt that this has affected their preparation this week. And I would think these players will play just like they always do, related to a football game. Not to say they play good or they play bad. I'm not sure how much effect that will particularly have on this game. Now, we're not talking about the future of athletics. It's going to have an effect there, of course, and we don't know what that's going to be at this point.
Ricky, you've been around this program for most of your life at this point, and there's a feeling I know among the fan base where it's kind of always something. What would you say to the fans who do, like, it's just all like have that feeling of, man, it was going well, but it's kind of always something? What would you say to them to maybe help them work through like all the different feelings of fan disappointment they're having, especially given the fact that before we even knew about all these things going on, the fan apathy with football was starting to rise.
Right. Well, two things. I mean, they're right. It's always something. Number two, it's always something at every university in the country. There are different levels of that, but it's always something. When you've got this many kids involved in athletics, this many sports, different administrations, different boards of regents, it's always something. And, you know, the thing I can say to that on my behalf, I hate it. It just seems like you get things going and then something happens, and you get things going and something happens. And because we're Baylor folks, it seems like it happens more to us than it happens to some others. You know what? Every time something has gone on or something has happened or there's been a setback, you turn around and something really good happens. I know athletics were struggling and we win a women's national championship in basketball. We were struggling in 21 when we won the Big 12 championship in football. Nobody expected that. I know I didn't. So I would just say, hang in there. These kids deserve it. In spite of all the issues, these are 18, 19 to 22-year-old kids, maybe 23 with a red shirt, and they deserve everybody's support. And I don't think the outside issues should be used as excuses not to go to games, not to support these kids, because there will be good seasons to come. Yeah. It's inevitable. We're going to win another championship. We're going to have a 10-win season. And what's going to happen then? All these people that are talking about all the negatives now are going to be at the games like nothing ever happened. Yeah. So I would just say, hang in there for these kids' sake, if nothing else, and support them, stand play, and just wait for something good to happen, because it's going to. And I'm not saying maybe some things don't need to change, but I'm just saying that if that's the case, it will, and there will be good years out there to come. And you're right. I've been around this program since I was 17 years old, and I'm not going to change.
So 25 years ago, 17 years old for you. Really.
Well, 30. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it is like, and I feel that, like, I understand, like, and especially since our show's kind of expanded and you hear all the, just know that you're not like, it's not only happening to you. Like, everybody who's not winning at a ridiculous clip, you know, is going through some version of these same things, although every story is unique. Like, that's part of fandom. The reason you enjoy the win so much is because the losses hurt. It means you care, but you have to care. Like, not caring is not helping anybody, I don't think. I think you channel your care into a positive way.
Yeah, be upset. I hate to lose, man. My wife will tell you I'm a horrible loser, and it's even at board games. I am not a good loser, and I'm kind of proud of that fact. I'm a sore loser. But you know what? That makes winning even better. And just think about something you said that just made me think, how many coaches have already been fired this year?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not like we're the only school that's got to struggle with some sport. I mean, there's coaches gone all over the country with the season, 3/4 over, and they're already gone.
Yeah. The first team that beat Baylor.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, 2 weeks ago fired their head coach. So yeah, it's like everybody, like you could have one heck of a support group meeting with all these different fan bases going through it right now. You'd learn a lot that you're not alone. Rick, always great to talk to you. Enjoy the game on Saturday, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
That's Ricky Thompson, Baylor sideline reporter, here with us on 365 Sports. Welcome back, 365 Sports. Paul and Craig. Interesting discussion with Ricky Thompson surrounding all things Baylor. And Craig, you talked about it at length earlier, your thoughts on, where they have to be and the decisions they have to make and where they are. But, getting from Ricky's perspective, I did ask him at the end about what do you say to them to feel like it's always something. And he said, look, yeah, that's true. It feels like that sometimes. But also Baylor fans are not alone. It's always something in a lot of places. It's not just them. They're always some things, though, appear to be just way more strange.
Yeah, for sure. And, I mean, Ricky's a Baylor guy, so he's going to have a little bit of a different slant on it and perspective on it versus someone like me who's not. But, yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand where he's coming from, but I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him. I don't think there's any other school that's had this many high-profile types of incidents over a span of 25, 30 years. I mean, it's like you can almost 5 years from now, there's going to be something. Like you can almost bank on it, right? Like set your timer. And again, it's as I said today and yesterday, it's the meme of it's been 0 days since the last incident at the nuclear power plant or at Rogers Incorporated or at Baylor University. I mean, that's how it feels. And so I would just be out of my mind if I were an alum and fan, especially the hardcores who seemingly every time they can get their hopes drummed up and excited about some things, there's a shoe that drops in. And look, this isn't like right off the heels of some great successes. They've been sort of floundering the last 2-3 years as a football program. Last year was good. It wasn't great. It was good. This year you expected them to be great, and they're not. They're not close to being great. They're trying to just be even good, and that was not at all what was expected. And now you have this type of a story drop where the whole thing's just up in arms now. And yeah, I mean, yeah, other places have incidents, but it's just I don't think there is a comparison for how frequent and how large some of the incidents are at Baylor, and I don't know what you attribute that to. Maybe it's one thing or another specifically. I don't know. I don't think they have like a rotten culture, so to speak. I think there's a lot of great people, but yeah, man, they just cannot seem to avoid every several years some type of thing. And look, this is nothing compared to Art Briles and that whole to-do. This is nothing compared to the Patrick Dennehy.
This is about one guy.
Yes, and this is not him like going and hurting someone else or anything like that. Like to what we know, right? To what we know, it's more about like probably hurting himself and his immediate family in some ways, but friends, colleagues, what have you. But yeah, I don't want to put everything in the same bucket. That would not be fair at all. But it's just another thing that's just kind of embarrassing. And you're just like, damn it, again, we're in the headlines. And I think I'll double down on what I said earlier, and I'll be done with this. I think the damning thing for them that I would be really worried about is, yes, the good news is this isn't some high-profile criminal type of huge black eye like you've had a couple of times in the past. But I do think it says just how out of people's minds you are right now and how really – there's no better word than irrelevant you are, that nobody really cares. Like, it's just like, yep, that tracks. All right, anyways. And maybe that's a blessing in some ways, but I also think that's damning that 2021 this occurs, that would have been a big damn story that wouldn't have gone anywhere. Now it happens and it's just like, oh yeah, that's typical. And then you move on because they're not relevant on the football field. And so less people care about it. And yeah, so They're in a weird spot right now, for sure, with some big decisions to come, and I think there's probably a lot of meetings going on right now, and if there's not, then that would be worrisome.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw this story earlier, and I thought it was interesting. There are a lot of superstitions. There are very few people that are more superstitious than coaches. I was doing like part-time doing PA announcing for Baylor volleyball, and we had the coach on our show, and I mentioned, I said, Coach Barnes, I just want you to know I'm doing a PA for the game tomorrow night because your regular guy is out, and I'm 4-0 this season when I've had to sit in for him. He was actually running for public office, and so he had like times where he would be gone, and so he's like, "You're 4-0," and then after they won, he called me up and said, "Can you do these next 4 games? They're our toughest of the season." So I made more money and got my winning streak ended 2 games in, but still it was nice that superstition paid off for me. But this is an interesting story. So Kalen DeBoer is 16-0 in regular season games when wearing a 2024 Nike Dryfoot Fit Alabama black hoodies, and 7 hoodies are secretly stored at Alabama's facility for safekeeping. The black hoodie of death is more than a viral sensation. It's a real superstition. Have you ever had any of those, Craig, for your team, like when you were a kid, about you have to wear something or do something on game day?
I did when I was younger. I bought into I don't want to change the way I'm sitting because they're up 21-7 or something. And then I realized just how stupid that is and how it drove me insane. And I said, you know what? Screw it. If they lose, they lose. But I'm not going to sit here and force myself to sit in the same recliner for the entire day because that's going to mean they win or lose. And I realized I'm not that important. The world doesn't revolve around how I am doing this. I'm not going to make Sam Bradford throw a touchdown instead of an interception if I get up and go grab a beer during the commercial break. So I finally shook that, but I totally understand superstition and especially when it comes to sports for certain people. I just mentally had to pull myself out of that and go, you have no effect on anything. You're not the center of the universe. And so I just quit doing that, but I definitely understand it.
Yeah. I mean, do you think you do? You're just like, I wield an awesome power.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if things are going good, you don't want to change things. You want to just stick with the status quo. So, you wait till the other team scores a touchdown, and then you finally go, all right, I can uncross my leg now or uncross my toes or something or whatever it is that you do. Take my hat off, whatever. But, for me, I had to break myself of that because I would drive myself insane watching games that way.
Yeah, absolutely. When we come back, the top 5 in the Carnival. This is 365 Sports.
The Lumi Charge is an all-in-one home desk lamp, speaker, and phone charger. It is a great...
I need that for my son when he goes off to college.
In a game of inches, every advantage matters. Grip socks aren't just an accessory. They're a performance tool. With advanced grip technology and arch support,
Lux Sports Socks, luxsports.co.
It's a great meditation sport. It's just yourself. You get out here, feeling the rhythm, feeling the rhyme. It's a good time.
Gives me the opportunity to hang out with the fellas for about 5 hours, and I get some solitude, relaxation, and a great time.
Malban Golf.
Golf's best kept secret isn't about changing your swing. It's about changing your state of mind. Special blend of mood boosting, tempo smoothing nootropics. Mojo Country Club.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Top 5 coaches that are leaving. Again, I say probably. Nothing is definite, but I did aren't leaving yesterday. Today I've got to do are. We have balance. We are like the Force here at 365 Sports. We are always in balance. Number 5. Ryan Beard. Missouri State, if you don't know what Missouri State is doing in their first year in the FBS, they're the latest team that's petitioning the NCAA for a bowl waiver in their first year in competition because they are putting up numbers and they are rolling through. But I think because of the coaching cycle and the way things are right now, Ryan Beard is going to get a job at a bigger school really fast because there are going to be a lot of open jobs that still aren't even open yet, just from the ones that you're going to take to fill from. So, Ryan Beard, learn his name because he'll be somewhere else next year. Number 4, even though he said he's thrilled at UNLV and he's happy to stay there, too many big jobs have opened up. If Dan Mullen isn't at a place like Arkansas or Penn State or heck, even maybe LSU if they come down to it. I don't think he's a candidate there right now. But if Dan Mullen's not at a bigger school next year, I'll be a monkey's uncle. Anyway, that's what my grandfather used to say. I never knew what it really meant, but I'll be a monkey's uncle. He's not. Like, there's just too much turnover for him to stay at UNLV unless he really loves living that Las Vegas lifestyle, which I get. It's fun if you like that kind of a thing. Not me personally. I'm more of a churchgoer. Number 3, Bob Chesney at JMU. If you've watched any of these top 5s lately, you know what a huge fan I am of Bob Chesney. He won big at Holy Cross. He's winning again at James Madison. Too many open jobs to let a coach that this talented go unhired. You got to get Bob Chesney in. He's actually, if Mike Norvell is let go from FSU, he is the guy I want to take that job. Although I was very big on Mike Norvell getting the FSU job. So maybe, just maybe, they shouldn't ask me because I'm too emotionally involved. But if I'm Virginia Tech, if I'm even Penn State, if I am one of those, I'm also considering Bob Chesney a true program builder. Number 2, Eric Morris. I think there's 2 jobs that are perfect for Eric Morris. One of them is in Stillwater, Oklahoma with the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The other one, currently their coach is still employed at Baylor, but there is a situation where Eric Morris could be at Baylor, and I think it's more realistic than it was just 2 days ago that Eric Morris could be at Baylor. Although we don't know what the situation's going to be, who the next athletic director is going to be, and all of that. But I would think that Jared Mosley, his athletic director at North Texas, is a candidate for the Baylor job. If I'm Jared Mosley and I have to hire a new football coach, well, I know who I want to hire because I know I like him already. And the other thing that happens with Eric Morris, if you hire him, if you're Oklahoma State, if you're Baylor, or if you're anybody else that hires him, there's a really good shot he might bring Drew Mestemaker with him, who is maybe his best quarterback project ever, considering he wasn't a quarterback when he got to North Texas. And number 1, John Sumrall will be at LSU, Auburn, or Arkansas. That order. He will be an SEC coach. I would love it if he was an ACC coach just down the road, 5.5 hours away down I-10 in Tallahassee. I just think that those SEC jobs with an SEC guy are going to pull him, and I think he's probably going to wind up being the coach at LSU, which is great news for LSU. And it's great news. It's not good news for anybody who wants to tinker with the program, because look at that scowl. Are you going to walk into that guy's office and tell him what to do? No, you're not. That's a scowl. Plus, he's much more, even though he is an absolute taskmaster, he's much more of a player's coach than Brian Kelly was. Although that's not that tall of a mountain to climb, apparently. Well, that's going to do it for this top 5. The Carnival with a bonus poll question I know nothing about is coming up right now. Okay. Here we go. All right, back. Which bowl game always lives up to the hype? We did? No, we didn't. Okay. So, all right, Craig, which bowl game always lives up to the hype?
I don't. Is there one that always lives up to the hype?
Maybe
I feel
not
like,
anymore.
I mean, I'd say Pop-Tarts Bowl is what I'll go with. That's the one that at least people have the most fun with, and as far as like as much of a hype as you can have around a bowl game that's not a playoff bowl at this point, I think the Pop-Tarts Bowl is fun. It stands out. It's advertising all over the place, but they do it in a creative and unique way that doesn't feel like you're just getting slapped around with a sponsorship, even though it's as in your face as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
But it's fun, and it doesn't feel like corporate greed the same way that some of these others can feel from time to time. So yeah, I'd say Pop-Tarts Bowl. And I mean, I don't like know all the results the last few years off the top of my head, but I know I always see a smiling coach at the end of it, and a team that's pretty fired up to have won it. So I'll go with that one.
I'll say in the same regard, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, where they dump mayo on the winning coach, especially coaches that don't like mayonnaise. Craig, you're a person who's not like, I don't think you're like your sister who's afraid of mayonnaise. On a massive level, you're just not a mayonnaise fan.
No, I won't order it or want it on anything. I mean, if it's on a burger, I'll eat it, and I'll be fine if there's enough other stuff on there.
If it was like in a recipe and you scooped it out and ate it, you wouldn't
there's some
freak
stuff
out.
I don't like that it's in.
Like potato salad.
I hate potato salad.
Okay, there you go.
Absolutely want nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Okay,
Yeah,
like even like a mustard potato salad.
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Of the sort of potato salad. Nothing.
Okay.
No, disgusting. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, I'm a
like,
pretty particular eater. I'm not like OCD about it. I'm like pretty plain. Like I don't want ham and cheese sandwich with like onions and peppers and like vinegar and like I just want like give me the ham and cheese and maybe a slice of lettuce on there. Like, but if not, I don't want mayonnaise on anything by preference. Like, but if it's insert like ranch dressing has it. Sorry if I just ruined everybody's life there that didn't know that. But I don't feel it in that. Yeah. I'm fine. But yeah, potato salad, absolutely not.
Yeah. And you're not a blue cheese guy either, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
no.
yeah.
I don't like that. That stuff also comes down to like consistency.
Yeah.
I don't like the consistency of those items either. But I don't like anything about any of those items actually at all. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, I totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm different than you on that. But I also like if somebody says I don't want mayonnaise on it, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. Like it's one of those things like
I just don't really like it. Yeah.
Some people it doesn't taste good to other people. Like, it is
a little soury for me. Like I don't know if that's the right description maybe, but yeah, I just don't like it. But if it's like mixed with ketchup or like I know a lot of these secret sauces, that's like
it's mayonnaise
ketchup and barbecue and mayo, like or some or ranch or whatever. Like I get that, but it's not just mayonnaise.
Yeah.
So like as long as it's not very mayonnaise-y, then I'm good with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see Jennifer Smoak be the winning coach at the Mayo Bowl.
She would
throw the game.
She would lose her mind.
She would throw the game. She would throw the game. All right, let's go to our first trivia question. We have 3 poll questions today. So Andrew snuck another one at the end. Oh, how the hell are you going to put a Nebraska question up? What? Yeah, I know. When he's not here, this is maniacal, Andrew. Since which decade have the Nebraska Cornhuskers sold out every game at Memorial Stadium? Currently an NCAA record. I want to say since the 60s, but man, I wish Smokey was here.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the streak's at this point, and the streak is the streak in some ways because it's like, well, the tickets were bought, and like not necessarily butts and seats, but they've been able to maintain that, and it's a cool thing. But I think 60s works. 50s, I feel like that's a little bit too
right before
early on.
That's right before they got to be who they were,
and then 70s, 80s they were rolling. So. They were very, very good to great at times during that, and then into the 90s, obviously. So, yeah, I think 60s makes sense.
All right, let's go 1960s. Oh, yes. The Cornhuskers have sold out over 400 consecutive home games at Memorial Stadium, an NCAA record for any sport, with the streak starting in 1962. During this streak, Nebraska has posted a record of 327 and 77, showing just how dominant and consistent the program has been at home. And most of those 77 losses have come in the last decade.
Now that I think about it, I was at that game right there. I was at that 400 sellout last week or last year when they lost to Illinois in a dramatic finish. And, boy, that stadium emptying out. That was quite the experience. I'd never been there before, and it was awesome, and I would love to go back. And thanks to Matt Rule, shout out to Coach for helping make that happen. And it was an awesome experience. But, yeah, it would have been a lot cooler if they had won. But now I've seen that picture. I'm like, oh, yeah, I was there for that last year.
Yeah. Okay. Trivia question number 2. Over the last 30 years, one anthem stands above the rest as the king of MLB walk-up songs. Enter Sandman, Crazy Train, Thunderstruck, or Seven Nation Army.
Seven Nation Army is not 30 years old.
No. I'm going to say Crazy Train.
I mean, all three of them are like pretty much the same vicinity.
Yeah.
Like they're in the same ballpark, no pun, or maybe intended it was. Maybe it was intended. I mean, Crazy Train's fine. Yeah, I all these are good walk-up songs, but
Thunderstruck I don't think is. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's too long of an intro. Crazy Train takes a little while to get going.
But I think they like the
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll roll with that. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Well, there we go. According to ballparkdj.com, I'm so mad at myself. Maybe it's my personal disdain for this song. I just thought that bad. What? I love AC/DC, but I guess as a walk-up song. But yeah, Thunderstruck has been played 11,194 times, making it the most popular baseball walk-up song of all time and still the most played monthly in 2025. Walk-up music in baseball began in 1970 with the Chicago White Sox organist Nancy Faust, who matched songs to the players' personalities. By the mid-90s, player-selected recorded tracks became common, shaping today's personalized walk-up music culture. Craig, I'll tell you how big this is now that, it's really easy to do these things digitally. For a friend of Amanda's in Nashville, recorded all the walk-up intros, and then they picked their own walk-up songs for Little League.
Oh, cool.
For 10-year-olds.
Wow.
Yeah. So
pretty cool.
I sat in, I think Garrett was here. I sat in here and I read 15 names off a list in a couple different ways that they could pick how I said them. And then they did the walk-up music.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
I don't know how somebody kept track of 11,194 times for just one song, but shout out to Ballpark DJ for however you managed to figure out how to do that. That's crazy.
Also, to Ballpark DJ, go outside.
Yeah. It's
I feel like
it resulted in a quiz on this very show, so all the effort was worth it.
Just, you know what? Take a walk, get a dog, see the sun. Is the CFP committee right to prioritize Notre Dame's consistency over Miami's head-to-head win against them? 75% pick Miami, 25% out of 224 votes say Notre Dame. So they want the head-to-head. I think for right now, you have to say Miami. I don't like this where this kind of goes back to the Baylor and TCU thing right from the beginning of the playoff, where they have this logic of, okay, Miami has worse losses than Notre Dame, even if one of Notre Dame's losses is to Miami. Like Baylor lost to West Virginia that year, TCU lost to Baylor, and somehow the fact that West Virginia wasn't very good outweighed the fact that TCU had beaten Baylor.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think Miami is more deserving right now, but also I know they're not going strictly off it, obviously, because otherwise Miami would be ahead of them, and that's the whole conversation. And for one particular guy every week, the wah when it comes to Notre Dame. But yeah, I think I'm with the Miami vote here that head-to-head should matter more than just being consistent. And I think the case with Notre Dame is a case that really made me frustrated when we were doing just based off rankings was, hey, man, if you're going to lose, just lose early, and it doesn't really hurt you. It's way better to lose early than to lose late. In the case of Notre Dame, they lost right out of the gates, and they built this winning streak, whereas Miami's lost of late a couple of games, and so that has dinged them a lot more to where you can say, well, yeah, they beat Notre Dame, but that was the beginning of the year, and since then Notre Dame's won 7, and they've lost 2 games, and it's like, okay, yeah, but they still beat them at the beginning of the year. So, yeah, I didn't like that where losses mattered depending on when you had them. When you only had like 1 or 2 games, maybe one room for error. So I definitely understand the Miami complaints right now. I think obviously they've got to handle their business. Pitt's going to be a real a real world breaker potentially for the college football playoff. They can beat Notre Dame. They still got to play Miami as well at the end of the year. So Pitt could really like turn a lot of things on its head for both of these teams actually. But I think I'm in agreement with the Miami call here.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, which college football program oozes Nepo baby energy and gets the most free passes in the rankings?
Who do we want to piss off here?
Yeah. Number one, Notre Dame with the NBC safety net, 54%, 817 votes. Rage breeds content.
Mm-hmm.
The Tucker Carlson model here. NBC safety net, 54%, 23% Bama by the committee. Preseason number one, Texas, 21%, and Lane's Twitter hype, 2%. I think Ole Miss gets everything they get. They've earned because they've, other than the SEC bump that they get, but nobody's given them a pass because they're Ole Miss. They haven't done anything to earn that.
No, I think that must be like Mississippi State fans that voted for Ole Miss because compared to the other three, it's not even close. Really, compared to the other three, they should be at 0%. They get very little to no benefit of the doubt that I've ever seen. And Lane gets a lot of attention, but that's different than getting like the respect from the committee and getting, in this case, free passes. Yeah, I don't think they get any free pass. I think that he stirs the pot and he's great at doing that, and I don't always agree with him in every single scenario, but I probably agree with him more often than not. And I like that he'll take jabs that others are scared to take. So, yeah, I don't even think they deserve votes for this one.
Yeah.
So, for me, I mean, you could have told me any of the other three, and I'd have been fine with it. But, yeah, I do feel like Notre Dame gets the pass of passes more than anybody else. And that's why when I hear, like, they're going to be forced, you're full of it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I've never believed that. And if I'm proven wrong, man, I will have no issue whatsoever going, you know what? Whoever has been proclaiming that, you guys were you nailed it. I don't care about being wrong. But I think you look at every piece of evidence and you're like, why would they be forced into anything? They're given the benefit of the doubt constantly. And I don't mean that. And look, they've earned their way a lot of times as well. But there are a lot of times that if their name was Minnesota, they're getting tossed out of the boat in 10 seconds, but because it's not, they get to hang around and linger, and ultimately, it works out. But they still have to hold up their end of the bargain a lot of the times. They do, though, and Texas, too. I think Texas gets the benefit of the doubt a lot. I think Bama gets the benefit of the doubt a lot. I think that's that blue blood bias, and so those are about as blue as you can get, those three programs right there, and I'm sure there's others you could probably add into there as well. But Notre Dame being the top pick, that's not surprising, and I think that's a solid choice.
Look, Notre Dame, there's this slogan I used to hear, and it happened every year in Texas around every other year when they had UIL realignment, like they have this year, where people move up and down classifications. And Highland Park never moved. They never moved for the longest time. They never moved. And Dallas is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Highland Park never moves. And now, granted, it's not cheap to live in Highland Park, so you understand why maybe it doesn't move. But the accusation was that they had a friend at the factory. Well, Notre Dame doesn't just have a friend at the factory. They are the factory.
Right.
Like, they're part of the factory.
It's the same school that is, so long as they finish in the top 8, like, they got in, like, automatically. Yeah. Like, remember that? Like, I don't know. I think there's definitely a case to be made. It depends on kind of what we're talking about and when we're talking about it. But I think right now, like, certainly Notre Dame's in the crosshairs because of this Miami situation.
Whoever is their athletic director, until the rules change or until they're forced by rule to join a conference, has as much voting power as the other conference commissioners.
Yeah,
and he's in charge of one school and they're in charge of multiples.
Right, and the Big Ten's going to totally force them while they're forcing USC and Michigan to go along with that. They're going to totally tell Notre Dame what to do. Okay, all right, cool. That's happening right away, or ever.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to say it's not anti-Notre Dame that they've earned their way a lot of times. They're a good football program, but yeah, I mean, to say they don't get preferential treatment, I think you're probably a Notre Dame fan. I think anybody else would look up from the outside looking in and go, it's not always, but it's a lot more than anybody else ever gets. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good to be the Irish, and it's good to be independent, and that's why I believe they'll always stay that way, because especially now there's no motivation to do otherwise. You've got a great advantage with that independence.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the mystery poll question. And this is great news. Thank you, Andrew. We have a new sponsor, Many Bidets. So we'll get their stuff rolling here in a second, but we have a new fancy bidet we're going to install in the bathroom here shortly. Have you ever used a bidet asking for a friend? Yes, my life is now superior, 38%. No, I like my routine dry and safe. 62% of you are wrong. It's not an either or thing. It's a combo. You use the bidet to enhance the other experience.
I'll take your word for it. I've never used one, and I don't think I don't even know if I've ever sat on a bidet ever.
You do if you go.
I've never sat in there, so yeah, never ever once. So
you're welcome too.
That's okay. So I say no. I like I guess my routine dry and safe. 62% there with the votes.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, that's me. So we split on this one for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for our new one. Look, when I did it, changed my whole life. So man, it's just great. I know people are afraid, but water gets you cleaner than not water. You don't just go in the shower with paper towels and just in a room and wipe off. Just saying. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the football weekend. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to Wolverine. Thanks to the maniacal one, Andrew.
And please hit that like and subscribe button. We are closing in on 70,000 subscribers. So please, if you would, we got Andrew telling us that latest figures, like 60% of the audience that watches us on a regular basis, no BS, because I don't BS you, 60% aren't subscribed. You can see where that would make a massive difference for this channel if even a fraction of that 60% jumped on board. If you watch us just a little bit or just entertained every once in a while, do us a solid so we can stick around and be here for you talking college football and other things. And please hit that like and subscribe, and hope you have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah, let's get it to 50% are not subscribed let's move those numbers down. Garrett, Brandon, and again, Wolverine, our intern. Well, that's going to do it for us. Have a great weekend, everybody.